Okay, perfect. Thanks, Joe. Call to order. Welcome to January 14th, 2021 regular board meeting of the San Diego Union High School District Board of Trustees. This meeting is being held in accordance with the State of California Executive Orders N2920 and N3320 and Public Health Officer Regulations issued on October 10th, 2020. This meeting is being conducted physically and virtually. I, Mo Muir, Board President, and Trustees Michael Allman, Elise Mossy, and Katrina Young are physically here at Earl Warren Middle School located at 155 Stevens Avenue in Solana Beach. Trustee Kristen Gibson is absent. Public comments at irregular board meetings are restricted to items on the agenda for board consideration or action to the public. We'll comment on the item for non-agenda items. The protocol for receiving public comments was posted in the agenda. The public was given the opportunity to submit to request to address the board and submit written comments prior to the start of the meeting. Public comments are limited to one comment per person per item, and duplicate comments were removed. Public comments were shared with the Board of Trustees earlier today for their review. All public comments are posted online. The meeting is being live streamed and video recorded. Sarah Williams will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All others stand in attendance. Please ensure your mics are muted.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. When we are doing the approval agenda, I wanted to put the reopening at the end of the meeting in case we had any comments coming in. I know it's close to the end, but I want to put it at the very end of this meeting. And so I want to make an adjustment to the approval of today's agenda.
I don't, where are you proposing to put it? I don't know how that would work with the public comments that we have.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda of January 14th, 2021, regular board meeting of the San Diego Union High School District as presented?
Allman.
Allman, motion. Second?
Mossy?
Mossy, second. Is the reason why I wanted to move it is we have a meeting at 3 o'clock with the more coming out about the reopening, is that this is a short meeting, but you are correct. I don't want to make our people who are waiting to make comments any longer than they have to. I do appreciate their time and tuning in. Roll call, Mrs. Schultz.
Devin Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Cassie Miller,
Yes.
Xander Samarasinge,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Sarah Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Allman,
Yes.
Miss Mossy,
Yes.
Miss Young,
Yes.
Miss Muir.
Yes. There are two requests for public comments on the closed session. When your name is called, you will be unmuted and have 2 minutes to provide your spoken comment. The first speaker is Ann Cerny.
Hello. As you enter into a closed session to discuss labor agreements, I hope you continue to take the situation seriously and live up to your role as leaders. Leadership involves collaboration and insightful, effective strategies. For too long, the district has ignored guidance by SDFA to devise a real plan, not just with cartoon images of someone coughing into their elbow, but actionable, measurable, step-by-step execution plans, the minutia, as some refer to it. Thanks to the efforts of SDFA in demanding safety, I do commend the recent steps you are taking in that direction, but you're not done. There are many issues to be worked out. Teachers know what it means to lesson plan something. It's a script, a well-choreographed dance, a vetted procedure. There has not been, and there still is not, a lesson plan for what it looks like to reopen safely. SDFA can get you there, they can. If you are true to your word and valuing collaboration, start with us. I say us because SDFA has the backing and is the voice of teachers. I'll say that again. SDFA has the backing and is the voice of teachers. Listen to us in their demand for a slow transitional reopening so that plans and procedures can be evaluated and tweaked where needed. Listen to us in their demand for a reliable and stable testing program for staff and students as essential for a safe in-person instruction. Listen to us in their assertion that it is irresponsible and unsafe to reopen for broader in-person instruction while in the purple tier. Caring leaders would not allow their people to have a choice to put themselves in danger. We are supposed to trust our institutions to provide a safe environment. Educators are dedicated to supporting students, and we're working hard to meet the needs of all.
I just texted.
We have been going above and beyond to provide a high quality, highly
She was
interactive
14 seconds.
learning curriculum. We are so buried, so stretched thin. Every ounce of our energy goes into our craft of teaching. So we need our union to do this work for us, to help assure a safe environment for students,
Thank
families.
you, Mrs. Sturdy. I appreciate that.
That way we can teach.
Speaker number 2, please.
Mrs. Mira, speaker number 2 is not available.
Thank you, Joe. The board would now convene to close session for 45 minutes to discuss items 3A and 3B. We will be reconvening. What time we got here?
3:50.
At 3:50. We're out of closed session, and thank you for waiting. The meeting is now reconvened. No action was taken. We'll now have our student board members giving the reports. Devin Hollingsworth from Sunset High School.
Hello, I'm Devin. As you know, I'm the student representative for Sunset. I'm here to give you guys some updates on what's going on at our school. To start off, student progress reports will be sent out to all parents on January 22nd. Our counselor, Ms. Balderas, is conducting meetings with all seniors to review progress and to make plans moving forward. She's also helping kids plan for college by giving them insight on all their best choices. Mr. Main has been offering online dance classes to students for PE. Additional staff members are participating too for fun. I take this class and it's one of my favorites, so shout out to you, Mr. Main. Wednesday was Bring Your Pet to PE Day for students who were participating virtually and got the chance to show off their pets from home. Next, our generous volunteers will be treating staff and students to breakfast burritos before school on January 19th. Starting the second semester, our goal is to give all students the option of working on campus 4 days a week. This is an increase from the 2 days a week we are currently still offering. Staff have led virtual student support groups to promote student wellness and to provide help to anyone that might need it. Our principal, Mr. Ayala, is participating in meetings hosted by the middle school principals to give families information about Sunset so they know their child will always have that option when it comes time for them to enter high school. Sunset has given me the ability to work at my own pace and to also get ahead as well. So I think it will be beneficial for all students to know this school welcomes everyone. Lastly, Mr. Ayala and I had the pleasure of attending the District Student Summit yesterday, and we're able to hear some great ideas and suggestions of what we can do moving forward. That's what's going on at Sunset, so thank you guys for your time.
Toledo Union High School District.
San Diego Academy.
Academy. We just made you out of the whole district. Go ahead, Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie, and I'm the San Diego High School Academy School Board Representative. Some upcoming events we have are our annual winter assembly and our second club fair, where kids can interact with each other and join new clubs, and people can find people that have a common interest with them. We're also planning to turn our annual Valentine's Day cards into e-cards so people can share notes with each other on Valentine's Day. Academically, we are nearing the end of our first semester classes and working on finals. We're also saying goodbye to many early graduating seniors as the end of our semester comes. We've started Common Learning Pods on campus and are also continuing our Seaside Prep program and our Learning Hub. We had 40 students on campus on Monday, 70 on Tuesday, 46 on Wednesday, and 58 today. We are waiting on CIF guidance and county guidelines for season 1 and 2 sports and staying hopeful and positive as we go through this difficult time. PALs are starting interviews for applicants who want to be PALs next year. And we also have a PAL on campus every day for students to access when they're on campus. This PAL is supervised by our amazing counselor, Miss Neblon. My personal highlights were our annual PJ Day we have after winter break, and I was so happy to see our SDA spirit staying alive online. I was also lucky enough to attend our student summit yesterday. I was so happy to attend and see many diverse students' points of views on various important topics. It was so nice to feel heard, and I wanted to give a special thank you to everyone who talked and listened to the students. I know so many were happy and felt heard when seeing you there. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you. Xander from Torrey Pines High School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Xander Samarasinha, and I am the student board representative from Torrey Pines High School. As we are nearing the end of the first semester, distance learning is running smoothly. All students are studying hard and getting ready for their first set of finals, while teachers are going out of their way to help their students succeed successfully. All the students love it. During our time in distance learning, our weekly Friday Spirit Days are still occurring. This time, the Freshman Class Council has decided to create a school-wide neon out. We're excited to see all students participating, and we hope to see them in their neon gear tomorrow virtually. This is an act of our school bonding and our showing of our school pride. This past week, a few of our ASB members had the pleasure of filming our campus we all love. This recording was for our campus tour videos. The video comprises of all important locations on campus, including Edberg Field, our media center and B building, and the Olive Garden, our gym. We will be presenting this video to all incoming students in this year's freshman class, as many of them do not know our campus. The video will be released within the next couple weeks. Once again, our Torrey Pines app is available for download. This new version of the app has the same features on the past app with some new features as well. With the app, we are able to have a form of communication with all students. My personal favorite part of this is that I am able to know updates about all things Torrey Pines has to offer, such as club meetings, upcoming sporting events, and anything else. Our dance team is also back in action, practicing on campus once a week. I can't wait to see what dances they come up with this time. Their dances are always amazing. Art supply packages are still available and are able to be picked up on campus for students who need the necessary supplies. Some of our athletic programs, such as baseball, lacrosse, and football, began to start their training for the upcoming season. All athletes are counting down the days until they have a falcon on their jersey once again. We can't wait to see what the athletics achievements we have this year. For the past 2 weeks, our PALS program has had their annual Stress Less campaign, where they educate the whole school about ways to de-stress during finals week. Personally, I feel like this event has been very successful, as I have learned many new ways to maintain focus and how to limit my screen time outside the virtual classroom. This campaign has been played during our weekly SC Wednesdays. Yesterday, Torrey Pines held their first ever Falcon Town Hall. In this event, we got to hear the students' voices. This event was very successful as our student leaders got to hear students' perspectives on topics such as a return to in-person learning, the lack of socialization, and how they want their voices to be heard. Many students want to find a safe return to on-campus learning to create a strong relationship with their teachers and other peers, and it also boosts their mental health. Students also want to be more involved in our school, and by holding this town hall, I believe this was a step in the right direction. We will be continuing this event of a Falcon Town Hall once a month. Over winter break, the ASB senior class hosted a gingerbread house making competition. The winner of this contest received a $15 gift card to a restaurant in the Delmar Highland Center. We had a good amount of participation, and it was a job well done from the senior class council. One of my favorite things about Torrey Pines is our annual Hallway of Lights. Students from the ASB class have been working hard on this project, and we have been able to set up a hallway of lights, decorations, and even signs wishing all students and staff to stay safe on campus. We have gotten really good feedback from many, and they all love the tradition it brings during this unpredictable time. Just walking through the hallway puts a smile on my face every time. We have also put up many motivational posters around campus for the upcoming finals weeks, wishing them all good luck. We are excited to see what the year 2021 has to offer for us Falcons, and we are all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Carrie Sue with CCA.
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Sue and I am CCA Student Board Representative. At CCA, students and teachers are working to wrap up first semester and are preparing for the transition to second semester. Our administration, teachers, and students are also working hard in organizing 1 day a week learning for students who request it, and we've had some students begin doing distance learning at school this week. Additionally, I was able to participate in the virtual student summit yesterday, with several CCA student representatives, and I wanted to say thank you to all of the district staff and students who attended this event. Finally, our school is preparing for Info Night for incoming freshmen on February 8th, and we're super excited to present all CCA has to offer for future Ravens. Academically, students and teachers are preparing for finals, as well as the transition to completely new classes starting January 27th. We also have several clubs hosting different activities, including CCA Quiz Bowl's Teachers versus Students Quiz Bowl tournament, which the teachers won today. For our arts programs, we recently found out that Miss Villanova, our music program coordinator, was honored as Band Teacher of the Year for the state of California, which is so awesome. Our Envision Theater program has also cast 2 spring shows, which they look to perform virtually in March. Dance Conservatory is working on filmed dance projects that center around inspirational interviews, and our Visual Arts Conservatory is collaborating with instrumental music students to create and perform graphic scores. Envision Cinema is staying as busy as ever with bi-weekly episodes of CCA TV and a brand new animation project in Conservatory. Finally, 10 students were selected into the All-State Honor Band and Orchestra, and they'll collaborate virtually to create a performance in February. In athletics, our Raven Sports Academy clubs have started conditioning for baseball and basketball, and other student athletes are continuing to train and practice on their own. Our homeroom committee has also been hard at work developing materials for our classes, and we've been focusing on self-management, perseverance, zest, and optimism. CCA has also been opening up increased opportunities for students to come to school for social emotional support. Our PALS program has also started planning for upperclassmen wellness days starting in March. In ASB, we're working on many different projects and events. Our club newsletter is set to be released on Friday, and it'll highlight various club events and accomplishments. Additionally, we have some exciting events coming up, like CCA Super Stats, where students can answer trivia questions on our ASB Instagram for a chance to win prizes, and Finalsgrams, an opportunity for students to write a nice note and send a care package to a friend before finals. We're looking forward to a great end to first semester and can't wait to see what second semester holds for our school. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sarah Williams at Lacoste Canyon, please.
Hi, I'm Sarah Williams and I'm the LCC Student Board Representative. This week we had our final senior yearbook photos yesterday, December 13th. Keen Studios came to LCC for the final time to provide free yearbook photos for the seniors while abiding by the guidelines. For administration, this week, administration onboarded small groups of students who came on campus 1 time a week. There were about 150 students who came back. Mav Nation and ASB are working together to create a virtual campus tour for students who are looking to come to LCC. Administration will be visiting middle schools about our IB programs on campus. Also, for our freshman info night in February, teachers are creating videos about their different courses. Programs such as Mav Nation, journalism, and ASB are back on campus, and sports such as football, baseball, cheer, dance, cross country, and field hockey are on campus too. For ASB, we are creating a new event, Smart Cookie, after the semester break. The Smart Cookie is for students who receive a 3.5 GPA or higher. Students who receive this GPA will be given the opportunity to get a cookie to represent their progress in this semester. We will also be holding a Spirit of the Mav after semester break. Spirit of the Mav is where teachers can highlight 2 students that they believe this year to have academic success and hard work through distance learning. This will be held virtually. We are also hoping to plan a senior chalk the lot, socially distant and masked, to provide seniors to see one another. We are planning on launching another student store with more Maverick gear to buy in the end of January. For our journalism program, the Mav Nation broadcasts team and Mav Life are producing every Friday, and this Friday, Mav Nation will be coming out with a new video. Our LCC moms are putting together senior lunch on January 21st from 11:15 to 12. They will be passing out donuts to all the seniors. And yesterday, I was able to participate in the Student Summit, which I found was very helpful and enjoyed listening to other students' ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Good job.
Our Special Student Summit.
I think most of them mentioned the student summit in their summaries. I appreciate that. It was, I know for me, very meaningful. We had trustees in attendance, Melise Mossy and Katrina Young. It also highlighted the kind of time that we're living in that I got a very important text and pulled into a meeting 3 minutes before the student summit started at 2:30, but was able to navigate back and forth. I found it very powerful to bring the students together, even virtually from across the district. I'm always amazed at all of our students and the diverse opinions that we heard. My take was similar to the students. I appreciate them hanging in there in the most challenging period of time that we have faced in a long time, and coming together to find some solutions and how we can finish this year strong. I'll acknowledge I saw some fatigue and there's some frustration. I have it myself, and people may see it in my eyes at times. But coming together and problem solving, I think, is important. That's my take.
Please.
They're the two trustees.
What'd you think?
I was highly impressed with the deep thoughts and level of vulnerability that I heard from our students willing to share. It's hard to share with adults, let alone your peers, and they really were encouraging to one another. I heard a lot of great ideas. One idea was, instead of ASBs just working on their own campus, maybe they could all work collaboratively together. I heard a lot of great problem solving. I walked away just encouraged by the level of intellect and creativity and compassion that I saw in these students. I think we're in good hands in the future if they're in charge.
Katrina?
Actually, instead of just giving a recap, I wanted to start out with some of their own words. They had such impressive, impactful voices. I thought that I would share some of the quotes that I wrote down. They wrote down, "Everyone's battery's running out. This is a stressful time for everyone. We want honesty and transparency. We don't want false hope. We want our voices and opinion to be taken into account, and we want to send a message of support." Key topics that I heard universally across grade levels and school sites were mental health, transparency, communication, safe return, inclusion, and building stronger bonds between teachers, students, and the board. While obviously a lot of the conversations talked about the struggles that COVID has placed in their life, I was really impressed that instead of just talking about all that they've lost, they had really excellent ideas for solutions. They came up with things like creating a what to expect next forum, where each grade level could share with the grade level behind them what they can expect, so they can not only educate them, but also create some strong bonds, creating a way to offer formal check-ins with students and teachers, expand more clubs so that others can make more friends, save opportunities for grade levels to come onto campus. And especially for the seniors to have some hallmark bonding moments, like senior sunrise, senior sunset, like they just said, chocked a lot, and other key moments of their high school experience. But what I loved more than just their solutions that they offered a resounding voices of compassion. And I almost broke into tears telling them this last night, and I hope I don't do it again now, but they used that time to advocate for others. And I was so impressed by the maturity and the compassion they showed. The first breakout session when we talked with a group of mostly seniors, they expressed a lot of support for their teachers. They were generally concerned about their teachers. I think a direct quote was that successful teachers equal successful students. They acknowledged that this is a new normal that we have all found ourselves in, and that everyone is stressed, and they want to make sure that everyone feels supported. They also advocated for younger students. They suggested creating a buddy system in which freshmen might be able to pair with a senior, and that they would be able to tell them key things about their school site so that they would feel that they're actually a part of it. And maybe like for instance, juniors would pair with sophomores so that they would know what to expect in that dreaded junior year when there's so much college prep. But definitely over and over again, They voiced a strong interest in diversity and inclusion and equality. I told them, and I think Melise agreed, that I hope that these become a regular part of this. I think it's important that we look to them for ways to put their voices in action. And because that's truly all of our jobs. We have incredible kids, and I am so honored to be able to listen to them, and I hope we get to do more of that. Towards the end of the summit, one of the students was actually sharing a thought, and I was actually writing it down because I thought it was such a good thought. And I was actually thinking in my head, how could we implement this across the district? And another kid came up with a great idea of how to implement that into the district. And it just shows that our kids are smarter than we are. So I would echo what Melise just said, that our world is definitely in a lot better place if we allowed them to take the steering wheel for a little bit. And if we all did manage to do what they did in just a matter of 2 hours, and that is to listen to the peers, look out and support each other, find solutions, and still remain respectful, engaged, and optimistic throughout the process. So all the students who participated, thank you. And I'm so proud of you. And to the parents, you've raised really great human beings.
Okay, thanks. I just want to say that's Dr. Haley he's the one who implemented the student summit. We've been doing that. I want to thank you for that. As we've been rotating the board members and had a chance to speak with them. So we've been doing this. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
I know this was, now we're going to get to board reports, and I know we just talked about this. Melise, do you have something to say?
Well, definitely the highlight was the student summit. No offense to you all that helped me with my board review.
Okay.
I also really enjoyed talking to our Diversify group. I had the opportunity to do that twice, and again, super impressed. I can't believe the students I was speaking with were sophomores. They could have been college sophomores or in the workforce. They are very eloquent. They speak from the heart. They put in so much hard work. They care so much about what they're doing. I just was extremely impressed and really grateful to be part of that. Let's see. I also participated in a Zoom meeting with students who are struggling with distance learning. The students were also very vulnerable, very well spoken. They shared with me in confidence, so I won't say names or schools or anything, just that they were feeling that their voices weren't heard, and they were feeling that their needs weren't being met. And so we need to continue to do more, and of course, bring every student that needs to be because of an academic or social or emotional issue on campus. We need to continue to do that work. And I'm just again grateful that they entrusted me with their feelings and thoughts, and I take what they said very seriously.
So you had a video, I assume, of that, and did you want to send that out to the board members?
Oh, yes, I would love to.
Okay, that would be great. You could.
Okay, I definitely will.
Thank you. Mr. Allman?
Melissa and I both attended that student Zoom meeting on distance learning. I must say it was one of the most moving experiences I've ever had in my life. Many of the students are suffering terribly, as we know, not just academically, which we know what it's doing to many students, but also they're losing motivation, social, emotional, they miss their friends. It was one of the most moving experiences I've had in many, many years. I want to thank them personally for their bravery in participating. I know it's not easy, and I really hats off to them. And that was a great meeting that Trustee Mossy and I had a chance to meet and talk with people. Attended a second Zoom meeting of special ed parents yesterday, and special ed has an important place in my heart, and I hope to be able to help them in the future. It was one of the first Zoom meetings of that group, but I thought it was a very good introduction, and I hope to be able to participate in many more. And I think actually just more broadly that Zoom type of meeting with special interests, whether it's children that are struggling, special ed, I think that could be open to many different areas, everything that we worry about, from pools to reopen schools to anything. I'd like to start having those perhaps even on a weekly basis.
Good idea.
One last thing was that President Muir and I had a chance to meet with the county health inspector on Tuesday. Dr. Haley, I'm sure will report what that was like, but from a personal viewpoint, some surprising things for me. First of all, learned that about half the teachers at SDA, where we did the site tour, were on site. I was very impressed with that. And also the level of detail that the two members from the county health department went into about our safety plan. There was a lot of questions. We spent, I think, over an hour at the district office first and then did a site tour at SDA. No doubt in my mind, and I know we're going to get a letter from them. I think they might have said it'll be another week or 10 days or so, but I have very little doubt that we're going to get a clean bill of health, that our schools are ready to open when we're able to open. One last thing that I thought was impressive and an interesting point was that the way he described a series of steps that we take that when together creates mitigation and the ability to confidently open in safety. That it isn't just any one thing, but it's when you put it all together, it's a good comprehensive plan.
Right.
So that's it, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Is on the heels of that, I was impressed also. We went to SDA, and I'll tell you what, we're ready to go. The filtration system is amazing. John Edelman has done an amazing job at all of our sites. Any suggestions were taken and implemented right there on the spot. You talk about the chain of command as far as Cindy Frazee is when someone is, we've been alerted that there is maybe a COVID experience. You and Cindy Peterson, Cindy, you've right there. You've found the person. I found out, is it you, Brian? They said they're going to have a SKU on every desk. And so they'll know where every child is at every site. Is that we've got this down to such a science, is that if someone is, maybe there is an issue of them being exposed, we'll know exactly who they've been exposed to and where they're sitting. And thank you, Brian. That was a great idea.
I think that's the LCC admin team. That's
Just doing that.
with the QR codes. So
we'll know the exact person who they're exposed to. And the chain of command, Tina Peterson, who's not here tonight, who works with you, they're on it, calling people, finding out. And right then, no grass is underneath their feet. I was very impressed. We are ready to go. Our sites are ready to go. There has the two people that were there. As you said, somebody had mentioned it, that we've done an amazing job making our schools safe. I've also want to say we're going to be having a meeting on Tuesday because the parents are here listening at 5 o'clock to discuss any new guidance.
Board reports.
I know, but I want to just make sure that people know that because in case they leave. And also tomorrow, they're going to have a big rally, Let Them Play. Our coach at Torrey Pines, Ron Gladnick, is putting that together here. The grassroots with coaches, players, and parents at 4 o'clock. I will be there. Mr. Allman said he's going to be there. We'll be going walking from CCA to Cathedral to Torrey Pines. If you'd like to join us, we support bringing our high school sports back. Thank you. And Dr. Haley.
Can I give my report?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. With Melise, I also met with the Diversify Our Narrative students, and I echo, I think we're going to see them a little later on this in this meeting, and you will be equally impressed with them, I believe. I had heard that new state guidance is coming out, and I was a frequent and passionate advocate to see if we can get that sooner versus later, because I think Haley and I have talked about, I think it was promised to us a couple of weeks ago, and then it was supposed to come out last week. And more on that later. One of my highlights besides the student summit was actually this morning, and I had the privilege of being able to go on to SDA and visit their new expanded cohorts. And within 5 minutes of me arriving, probably one of the things that I will never forget is a mom got out of the car with her two sons, and one was a senior and one was a freshman. And she took that first day of school picture with her son,
Oh.
first day as a senior, first day as a freshman. And just the moment that created for that family, I felt really good about what we're able to do to get some kids back onto campus and to give them that little bit of normalcy. I give a huge shout out to SDA. They have done a phenomenal job, and I know other campuses have as well, and I look forward to visiting them. But looking at SDA today, they had extension cords, they had the kids set up in a area where they were separate but contained by, and so two supervisors who are answering questions, and mostly it was just tech support. But everyone was very respectfully doing their work. And it was a nice win today. And the fact that we're having a Santa Ana and the weather was phenomenal in the middle of January, I think shows that that there are good things that come out of 2021 and that the universe smiled on us, allowed them to have a nice day outside to continue that. As I said, I look forward to hoping to see other schools. I do see these cohorts as a good pilot program for us, that we see the successes and we can build on those. And then if there are any kinks in the system in terms of technology or in terms of student flow or whatever, that we can hopefully fix them now. And then when we're able to reopen, that we should be even better off than we were before. So thank you, SDA, for having me today. And I look forward to seeing other campuses as well.
Oh, good. Now, Dr. Haley.
Okay, I echo everything that's already been said, so I won't repeat it, all the different meetings. One of the things that I've tried to do is get out to as many schools as possible the last few weeks, since we've entered January of 2021. And I think at this point I've visited every single campus to see them in action, and especially this week to see more students coming back. And it is very moving and very powerful for a lot of students. We've had students who've gone to the new school that they've never seen before. And so we want that to continue. With that, I think probably the rest of my remarks are better in the different agenda items that we have, and ready to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Now we're getting to the public comment section. We will now hear from public comment on non-agenda items. We received a total of 30 written comments and 15 requests to speak. In accordance with the Government Code 5495.3 and Board Policy 9323, spoken comments will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker and a total of 20 minutes. A random selection was made to select the 10 speakers. When your name is called, you will be unmuted and have 2 minutes to provide your spoken comment. Our first speaker is speaker number 1.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm a parent at CVMS, and I'm so glad to hear so many wonderful events happening in the school from our wonderful school reports. This will not be happening without disruption if the board did not make the timely decision on December 28, 2020's board meeting to prevent a rush reopening on January 4th. I thank the board members who made these wonderful events happening. I thank you for listening to the voices from multiple parties and prioritizing the safety of the students, teachers, and the community. Your decisions helped maintain the consistency, integrity, and efficiency of student learning. You helped refrain the spread of virus in the community and potentially save lives. Please continue doing what you have been doing. I also wanted to thank the district leaders and the staff for their support to our awesome and hardworking teachers. Our family moved in this area in summer 2020, and my daughter is a 7th grader at Carmel Valley Middle School. She told me that all her teachers are really helpful and made her transition to her new school easy, although she has not had a chance to meet any of them in person. I have never heard a single complaint from her about her teachers. These teachers deserve our support and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Daniel Duckering.
Hello. As a parent of 2 kids in the district, I just wanted to take a moment to thank our wonderful principals and assistant principals who have worked tirelessly over the past 9 months with little or no recognition to keep our schools functioning. These dedicated educators have put students first by working collaboratively with their teachers to determine the best way to engage and support the students. These educators have made communication with their school communities a priority and have provided important developments and in a timely and transparent manner. They've also worked hard to ensure the safety of all people on our campuses and to maintain equity for all students. But they did not do this alone. We also need to thank all of the wonderful site staff who are an integral part of keeping our schools running smoothly during a time that has been permeated by chaos and change. We're truly grateful to the guidance counselors, campus supervisors, custodians, attendance office staff, health office staff, aides, and many, many more. These employees had to quickly adjust to and execute new procedures and processes when we pivoted to distance learning, and again, when targeted cohorts were invited back to campus for support services this fall. They have supported those prioritized cohorts of students on campus and have helped clean, maintain, and supervise those students while they're on our campuses. Finally, we thank our terrific educational service team in the district office, Brian Marcus and his team. We appreciate all the effort put into support and professional development for our teachers, measuring outcomes and interpreting the data, and your attempts to incorporate and implement board direction, which has been less than clear or linear at times, into practical application in our classrooms. And a time when there are so many angry voices directed at teachers and educators in this country and in this very district, when they are doing the best they can, given the circumstances and the time we find ourselves in, it is imperative that we thank them for everything they have done and continue to do for our kids. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madeline Moon, please. Joe?
Madeline, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Madeline Moon, and I am a junior at Torrey Pines High School. As a student in the San Diego Union High School District, I've experienced the challenges of moving to online learning. I've watched teachers adapt their curriculums to the demands of new and unfamiliar platforms. I've watched students work to acclimate to these new curriculums and the unusual structure of the school day. What has been a constant throughout these changes have been our principals, who have supported both us students and our teachers. In my experience, principals have acted as linchpins for the community, helping bring together students, parents, and teachers in ways each of those individual groups cannot. They are trusted to barely represent all of their constituents, and especially during these pressing times, have navigated the disparate interests extremely gracefully and effectively. Principals work to protect students and guide them through difficult decisions which are becoming more and more common as our environment becomes more and more stressful. SDUHSD principals have demonstrated their commitment to our community, inside and outside of school hours. They are irreplaceable elements, and they deserve our support as much as any of our teachers. I ask on behalf of SDUHSD students that we give them the support and praise them for all they do for us.
Thank you, Madeline. Speaker number 4, please.
Good afternoon. As a parent of a student with an IEP who is currently attending PTMS on a part-time basis for specialized services, I'm very concerned about the potential adverse impact that bringing more students onto campus will have on my student and other students with special needs. My understanding is that the priority group to be on campus at this time are students with special needs and ESL students, among others. By bringing back hundreds of other students during a surge of cases during Purple Tier, I feel that the board and district is making an unsupportive statement toward those students with the greatest level of need. Both Governor Newsom and Dr. Taras from Rady Children's Hospital have emphasized the need to focus on those students with the highest level of risk. I urge the board to maintain the status quo and to wait a minimum of 2 weeks outside of the Purple Tier before bringing back larger groups of students. I would also like to encourage a collaborative approach between school district representatives and the San Diego Faculty Association. A contentious approach will not be in the best interest of our students, in that it will likely lead to the district losing some of its finest teachers. I recommend thanking our principals, assistant principals, teachers, and classified staff who are making sure that all the trains are running on time and that our students continue to receive a first-rate education, whether in person or through distance learning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Adam Fisher, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, I wanted to thank everyone that has been working so hard during these challenging times, specifically the teachers who are going above and beyond in preparing meaningful lessons, the site administrators who are supporting students, parents, teachers, and the broader school community, the classified staff who are quickly adapting to new ways of doing things and supporting prioritized cohorts of students on campus, and the district educational services team who are creating solid plans and supporting teachers. Also, we should make sure that nobody in the school community is put at undue risk due to plans that are illegal, unwise, and/or unsafe. The new state schools guidance settles things very clearly that SDU-HSD cannot reopen in purple. While schools can bring in more students under cohorting guidance, this is only for the purpose of limited instruction and targeted support services for students with disabilities, English learners, students at higher risk of further learning loss or not participating in distance learning, students at risk of abuse or neglect, foster youth, and students experiencing homelessness. While we should absolutely do everything we can to bring those students that need it back on campus, and the new campus pods are a great step in this direction, it's imperative that the district follows the cohorting guidance as described above, or else it would be a violation of the law and put the students that really do need the services at undue risk. Nowhere in the guidance does it state that it should serve students who want to send a message that being back in school is important, or to show that certain board members were right about students wanting to be on campus, or to make sure students are dressed and out of the house. All of those invalid reasons have been mentioned by parents on Facebook as reasons at least some of them are having their kids go back. The more students there are, the greater burden and risk it places on staff and existing on-campus students. So the students on campus should be limited as per the cohorting guidance for those most in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Britton Ferris, please.
With severe division happening throughout our entire country, trickling down into our community and our very own school district, with one group of people forming a parent association charging for membership with a goal of tearing apart our union, and another group focused on protecting our school community from contracting a potentially deadly virus, we desperately need your leadership. We need you to help us come together to bridge the dangerous gap that on a national level has led to breaching the Capitol building, traumatizing individual lives, and violent deaths. That same dangerous level of tension is happening right here at SDU-HSD. Please help us come together and move forward together. We can't keep fighting with each other. We must depend on the experts in their fields in science and medicine and education, and we want to be able to depend on your leadership to go from there. The acts I'm seeing on social media and throughout our cities are only fueling this divisiveness and giving people the idea they too can do whatever they want, like breach the Capitol building, or in this case, form an association recruiting anybody in the community to teach our children. I have a friend who's a teacher and also works for the California Teachers Association. In one of the Reopen Now groups, they're targeting CTA with comments like, and I quote from social media, which as we know is a powerful and potentially dangerous platform. It's time to send protesters, the kind that showed up to the Capitol, to CTA headquarters. They need to start feeling the heat. And the response to that of, I'm not kidding, that is exactly what I thought when I watched what was happening at the Capitol, that the next building that needed their doors kicked in is CTA. And then they created an event for this to happen. This is terrifying. Please, I beg of you as a teacher in this district, please help us come together as a community. One of the core values listed on the Board of Trustees page is we will work together to meet our challenges. Another is we will model the type of behavior we expect in our district. I ask that you please try harder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly McSherry, please.
As a parent of 4 district students, 2 that have graduated and 2 currently enrolled, I've had a lot of interactions with school staff over the years. Our district has developed a wide and deep pool of talented administrators that are on site at our schools working for our students every day. Our family has personally witnessed our principals and assistant principals placing the needs of students first and foremost in everything they do. My son recently volunteered to write a thank you note to Mr. Colleen, his principal, when he found out that local families were working on something they called Operation Gratitude Drop. Like most teen boys, thank you cards and writing in general is really not his thing, but he's so principal that he did it anyway. Mr. Clean and Mr. Thornton even do double duty as his homeroom teachers. Not many principals are teaching in the classroom, and he knows he is lucky they take this time to be with students. A few years ago, my oldest daughter had a conflict with a teacher new to the district, and it was causing her incredible anxiety. She spoke to Mr. Thornton, her assigned AP at CCA, about it. From the first response, it was clear he took her concerns very seriously. Mr. Thornton advocated for my daughter, set up a meeting that he attended with her, and every step of the way made her feel supported and her experiences valued. Her stress level dropped. Just knowing that someone was on her side and listening to her made a huge difference. Back in my school days, having an assistant principal know who you were usually was not a good thing. That isn't true at our schools, where we have dedicated staff like Mr. Clean and Mr. Thornton make it a priority to connect with students, even if it has to be via computer screen right now. I am tremendously grateful that my kids have leaders of such caring and integrity now more than ever. They have earned the trust of myself and, most importantly, the trust of my kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Jen Sharop, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I've always admired the school site administrators in this district. When they present in board meetings, they do so intelligently, enthusiastically, and earnestly, much like Bryn Ferris just did a few minutes ago. I trust what they say. When I interact with them on campus or over email, they are quick to respond, helpful, and compassionate. In the last month or so, Principals Colleen and Nuskin have gone far beyond the parameters of good principals. They're in legendary territory. This has been a divided and difficult time in our district. The principals, APs, and educational services team have been steady and steadfast throughout, focusing on students, their learning, and their growth. Today, many families participated in Operation Gratitude Drop to show how grateful we are for our principals and school site staff every day. I saw the local paper featured gratitude letters as well. I'm mindful of the many ways in which educational services and site staff have had to adapt and shift during this time as plans and directives from the board and administration keep changing. Just this week saw a new change that was announced before the paint was dry on the announcement of the prior change. And the shift to move students on campuses right now is concerning. It appears to violate the cohorting guidance, which, quote, authorizes small group in-person services in controlled, supervised, and indoor environments, end quote. The students who've returned to distance learn from fields and courtyards are not receiving in-person services, nor are they indoors. This shift has put new burdens on school site administrators and classified staff. And if it changes yet again to, say, grade level days, for instance, it will further disrupt planning. Please follow the cohorting guidance. Allow safe campus access for priority populations identified through appropriate channels that are not manipulated by families to skew numbers, and safely bring back general students for extracurriculars and athletics. Safe socializing does not have to coincide with academics. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Tara Curley, please.
Hi, I am an STA parent of a freshman and sophomore who have been doing well in distant learning. Their largest concern is regarding an unstable education if teachers are replaced by substitutes. Board meeting after board meeting, parents, teachers, and students have requested for the district to provide accommodations for teachers to telework. In fact, I've heard all 5 board trustees support this action. And at the last board meeting, both Trustee Michael Allman and President Mo Muir indicated this would be happening. But still to this day, there has been no written communication from the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources outlining the details of the trustees' directive. Please follow through and communicate this directive with teachers in writing to facilitate planning and staffing as part of any future opening discussions, or we will risk losing additional teachers out of concern and fear they will be forced back into the classroom, leaving students with an unstable academic situation, a staffing shortage, and at best, substitutes that have no subject matter expertise. Teachers have demonstrated that they can teach successfully from home. The flexibility of telework allows our experienced professional faculty to continue to teach our students. Continuing to allow teleworking promotes teaching and learning continuity in the event of possible COVID exposures to the faculty and staff needing to quarantine. Whether you are for or against a wide reopening, it seems that all parents, and students would agree that a stable education with an experienced teacher is paramount to equitable education for all. If concerned teachers go on leave, all students will be affected. So the just stay home mentality that I hear so often does not work. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Rajbaum.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So earlier this year, the board had voted to have honors classes weighted. That information does not seem to have made it to the high schools, however. It would be appreciated if the board or Mr. Haley could follow up to ensure that that happens. It could definitely help some students in the current college admission cycle. I also saw somewhere we're upgrading our filtration. It would be more useful if we could look at specific, like what is where. And I hope we can get our filtration testing and notification plan up to par so it's safe when we reopen. You mentioned filtration is great at SDA. What about CCA? And like specifics would be really useful. And please commit to notify everybody in a class if there is a positive case. It is viral and chances are they are friends. Their friend who was 6 feet away hung out with them at lunch. I do want to thank the trustees for posting when closed meetings end and respecting everybody's time. It is such a welcome change. Also, I want to say thank you to the principals, assistant principals who have been doing an incredible job prioritizing health and welfare of our students and communicating with parents and teachers. Mr. Colleen in particular has made this year better by sending clear emails and continuing principal coffees, making sense of the communications with every change that happened and stress to go down. Thank you also to the educational services team trying to make this horrible year better and to the classified staff for all they are doing. Please make our safety measures more robust. Add a way to report situations that are not up to par so they can immediately be addressed. Our teachers, our student, our staff, and our community at large is counting on you to put safety first. As a member of a hard-hit community, I find it offensive people claiming that this doesn't exist or is not serious. I wish our board would take the time to have a town hall to address concerns and questions. But I do find it disturbing right now that a rally with one point of view of opening at all costs was just endorsed. And this silences the majority view of parents and teachers who want to open but do so safely. I am also very grateful to my daughter's teachers.
First off, does that mean AP classes aren't weighted? Our AP classes are all weighted.
She said honors classes. That's different than AP.
I thought you said AP.
We'll look into that.
Okay.
I'm not sure what she was referring to, so we'll.
I need a little bit of time to look in.
I'm going to get to that.
Also, Rob, could you comment on, I've heard it a few times about whether we can tell the class whether a student is been tested positive. We talked about that with HIPAA, et cetera.
We could do that under 10A.
I think we need to address this now because.
Well, there are very strict rules and guidelines. That was part of the site visit and inspection that we had on Tuesday, which was what's today?
2 days ago.
2 days ago. That was part of our site inspection and visit. We had a very robust discussion about what is allowable and what is not allowable. Our team works directly with San Diego County Health and Human Services. And we specifically follow their guidelines that they've also worked out with San Diego County Office of Ed. So there are very serious privacy laws that we have to follow in regards to who we are able to notify and who we are not.
So back to the filtration system, she said that it's not the same all over the district, but I didn't get that impression. Do you feel that our filtration system is the same in all schools?
It's not the same at all schools. It does vary. And we have analyzed every individual classroom space in the district following the Harvard what's the California University spreadsheet that was provided to us. Our Director of Facilities Planning, John Adelman, you mentioned his name, has done an amazing job going across every single room. Originally, we were looking at square footage, but then we actually upped the analysis we were doing to look at air volume and taking into account the dimensions of the space.
And airflow, I saw.
Airflow, we've calculated both internal airflow and how much outside air we are able to bring into every single space. We have more HEPA filters than I think any probable district of our size. and we've added more. We have HEPA filters. We have one right over there, and we've calced the HEPA filters based upon the volume of the air in the room.
And the engines that he was talking about, that because with the Prop A dollars that you've redone all the engines, that if they need more power, we have that. I think that's what John Edelman was talking about with the
HVAC systems.
Yes.
We've been upgrading them district-wide, and got confirmation at our site visit and inspection on Tuesday that MERV 12 Plus actually is better than the cardboard-based MERV 13s. And
That's what's being recommended.
that is what we've purchased and installed.
And I want to say, John Edelman,
They're not installed.
Purchased.
Yes.
that right then he had his notebook out and he was writing down anything that we needed. We're getting it, but we are ready to go. Thank you.
And to your point, the guidance that we will be talking about later are there additional safety guidances, or is it just other, like?
I think we'll talk about that later. I just wanted to answer her questions. We seem to have that same question over and over again, and I want to make sure we address those. Thank you.
I can definitely say that when it comes to air filtration analysis, we have met everything requested of us and exceeded it.
Yep. Thank you for that, for keeping our kids safe and our staff. All right, with their consent agenda items, members of the public are entitled to comment on items on the consent agenda. Trustees may ask for additional information regarding items on the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on in one motion unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests that the item be removed and voted on separately, in which case the board president will determine when it will be called and considered for action. There is one request for public comment on this item. When you are called, you will be unmuted for 2 minutes and provided a moment to speak. The speaker is Ann Cerny.
Hello. I'd like to speak in support of a few agreements and expenditures. In a crisis pandemic of communicable disease, a testing program that is stable and easily accessible is an obvious part of a robust plan, and something SDFA has been demanding for months. The new agreement with UCSD to provide testing for staff every other month, or if they find themselves exposed or symptomatic, is a step in the right direction. However, it doesn't meet the standards of a robust testing plan if students return back to campus in greater numbers. Many campuses that are more widely open require much more frequent testing of staff and students to mitigate potential outbreaks. Thank you for arranging for this service here in January of 2021. Would have been nice back in August of 2020. And I look forward to the expansion of this program in the near future. Thank you also for engaging with Siemens Industry to conduct a thorough evaluation of air filtration across our campuses. Thank you for following the science of COVID's airborne transmission. I look forward to the public being able to see the report that came from Siemens as an evaluation room by room, campus by campus. I look forward to the upgrades that meet the standards of experts like Dr. Prather, and I look forward to the report that the work has been done before any broader reopening occurs to assure the community of the safety of our facilities. This is a good start here in January of 2021, but it would have been nice to have this done back in August. Thank you also for the personnel action that assigns Brianna Weatherford as principal on special assignment. Bri is a very well-respected administrator who will provide invaluable support to our principal team. Left without quality forethought, collaboration, or stability coming from the board and superintendent, principals have been bearing the heavy burden of keeping our schools on track on their own. They deserve support, and I'm glad to see this great idea here in January of 2021, but it would have been nice to have this support in place back in August of 2020. These are all good starts to a real plan, better late than never. Thank you.
Thank you. The consent agenda item 9B, as presented, will be voted on by elected board members only. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda item 9B as presented?
So moved. Young?
Young, so moved. Second?
Allman.
Allman, second. Are there any questions or comments? Melise?
No.
No. Mike? A roll call, please, Mrs. Schultz.
Mr. Allman,
Yes.
Miss Mossy,
Yes.
Miss Young,
Yes.
Miss Muir,
Yes.
and Miss Muir, can you also
9A.
approve 9A? I think I skipped that.
Okay. Yes. I'll make it, when we're done here, I'll make that a motion, Joe.
So we're ready.
Okay. A motion for consent agenda item 9A.
So moved, Mossy.
Mossy, Motion, second?
Second Young.
Second Young. Comments, questions? No?
None.
Roll call, please, Joe.
Thank you. Devin Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Cassie Miller,
Yes.
Xander Samarasinghe,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Sarah Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Ullman,
Yes.
Miss Mossy,
Yes.
Miss Young,
Yes.
Miss Muir.
Yes. Board services items. We received a total of 94 written comments and 30 requests to speak in accordance with Government Code 5495.3 and Board Policy 9323. Spoken comments will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker and a total of 20 minutes. A random selection was made to select the 10 speakers. When your name is called, you will be unmuted and given 2 minutes to provide your spoken comment. Speaker number 1.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, thank you. So no matter how much I was hoping to get my kids to the CVMS campus for Q3, I do not think we will be ready for a large-scale reopening at the end of the January. I support reopening when we can per public health's recent guidance. You may all have read a recent study reported in the San Diego Union Tribune dated on January 10th, 2021. The study showed that schools do contribute to the spread of COVID-19 when case rate in the community is high. One of the co-authors said, once community rates are too high, it is possible that there's little school can do to diminish the risk. Right now, the daily new virus case rate is about 53 per 100,000 residents, which was considered astronomically too high by Dr. Mark Sawyer, a pediatric infectious disease specialist at Rady. While I have seen research showing evidence that schools may not contribute to COVID-19 spread, it is important to note that many of these studies utilized the data before December, when our case rate was a lot lower. I have been tracking the case number in the area with zip code 92130. During the week of December 12th to 19th, the total new case is 70. But in last week, our total new case is 178, which is 2.5 times of the new case number 3 weeks ago. So as the case rate are too high in our community with a new variant virus identified in the US, I'm not sure studies that use data before December still applies. I urge the board to make decisions based on the most current information. And I strongly support to wait and continue our current distance learning model for Q3. Thank you.
Thank you. Margie Smith, please.
Mrs. Muir, the second speaker is not available.
Thank you. Carol Chang, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Both of my children have been navigating distance learning successfully, and my daughter has been able to connect with other students through clubs which have been successfully running. Thank you for allowing additional avenues for students to connect. As you discuss reopening plans, I urge you to consider the highest safety and choice for the teachers. I trust that you will adhere to the public health guidelines set out by the CDPH just released today, where two highlights are the definition of open, and it requires stable groups, no mixing between periods. Please work with the teachers and the site administrators to develop a plan. They know best what works in the classroom. I also urge you to follow the best science-based practices when it comes to reopening to ensure the safety of all who will be on campus. Let us listen to the experts at UCSD Return to Learn. It is imperative to have infectious disease experts weigh in on such important decisions. This would assure all parties involved that the district had done the best job at safety. I also know how important the board members feel about transparency. Look at the examples of our neighboring districts. Poway not only paused reopening until late February, they also informed the parents that there were 70 cases of COVID on campus in the first week of January alone, while the majority of their students were remote. For San Diego, please have transparency. Have robust contact tracing and notification in place to mitigate a mid-semester shutdown by the county. Finally, and most notably, as Trustee Alman asserted in December, and Trustee Muir also articulated, please make plans to provide accommodations for teachers who cannot return due to circumstances. And please assure them in writing. The teachers have already been doing a superb job teaching remotely. I ask you to do the most responsible thing and ensure the safety of the entire district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Cerny, please.
Hello. Thank you for updating yourselves on local virus conditions and to what is currently happening to effectively support target populations, even in this most dangerous phase. However, I'm a little confused by what exactly is being voted on here to, quote, take action as necessary and direct staff accordingly regarding reopening. For example, you say that the county public health may not, quote, approve or disapprove district plans. Are you saying that you put little stock in their consultation? Are you interpreting that to mean you have permission to do whatever you want? You state that there's, quote, a list of questions and technical guidance from county public health. Will the public be able to see those questions and guidance? Regarding those questions, you state the assurance that, quote, all of which SDU-HSD was able to answer or enable. That rings hollow. You have not earned the amount of trust. Where is the transparency and communication about these questions and answers? With CDPH guidelines just released before this meeting began, how could you have imagined you could take any, quote, action or, quote, direct staff accordingly on anything tonight? With no common understanding or collaboration on these new guidelines, any action should be postponed to prevent jerking us back and forth like we've been doing. Moreover, whatever vagueness you may eventually find in that document doesn't negate the fact that a broader reopening in the purple tier is dangerous, period. Many people talk of choice, but safety is of primary importance for a public institution. Many past efforts to protect public safety had been decried as overreach, but are now common sense, like seatbelts and helmets. Many regulations were hotly debated, but now ensure trust in our infrastructure, like emissions and water safety laws. We depend on our public entities to understand the circumstances and provide safe and effective services. Lastly, as you talk, please be careful. Do not allow an in-depth discussion to get reduced, as it has so many times in the end, to one simple yes or no question designed to corner you into a vote that will have far-reaching consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Oliver Sherratt Collins, please.
My name is Oliver. We just started our baseball practices this week, and with the incorporation of effective safety measures, we were able to both practice safely and securely while maintaining a strong workout. My sport is outside, non-contact, and completely playable with the use of masks. My coach worked tirelessly to ensure that we could return to the field and salvage a season that I fully expected to never occur. I count this as a big win for the district, and if we can continue with a strong distance learning model that supports both teachers and students, I believe that this year can continue to grow. Not only does distance learning work, but it protects our teachers and does not prohibit student athletes like me the ability to practice with my team. My coach would not have been able to get us to go ahead if he did not ensure that appropriate measures would be implemented to keep everyone safe. This year, despite all the negative points raised in past board meetings, has been an experience from which I have learned a lot. And if we can continue with the distance learning while also allowing school activities that are outside and safe to begin, I feel that this year will not be lost, but rather be an opportunity to continue exploring the reaches of our strong education system.
Thank you. Thank you. Brad Silcox, please.
Hi, thank you very much.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. So my mom was a teacher in 4th grade. She taught my class when my teacher was on a long-term 6 months out, and it was the longest 6 months of my life. I say that now because the longest 6 months has been the last 6 months with our kids out of school. I have 2 daughters at La Costa Canyon and one that graduated last year. Right now, we have schools to educate children, to provide them with knowledge, self-worth, arts, music, physical activity. Schools are not there intended for teachers or administrators or parents, but they're for children. Right now, we are failing our kids. We continue to ignore study after study that say schools are safe, that children need in-person education, learning for their mental and emotional well-being, And all of that is dependent on being in school, not over Zoom or Google Meets, or it's having their body in a seat and interacting in person with their peers. Right now, everyone who is supposed to look out for the well-being of children are failing them. They're letting politics and self-interest get in the way of learning and the health of our children. The district administration, board leadership, and the teachers union right now are all earning Fs for their lack of preparation, responsibility of actions, and communication. In case you've forgotten, F stands for failure, and everyone is responsible. The district administration, who continued to say the schools were open when they weren't, the teachers union, who filed a lawsuit that threatened to bankrupt our school district, the school board, who continues to lack direction and is beholden to special interest groups instead of students. Your actions in the last few months will drive hundreds, if not thousands, of our best and most talented students to private schools where they're open for in-person learning. If we don't make some type of amends and work to open our students for full-time learning, whether that's coming up or in the fall, it needs to be done, and we need a good plan. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Michelle McCoskey, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I urge the board to follow the law, listen to scientists, keep our community safe, and protect the foundation of our schools, which is our teachers and strong academics. Today's updated CDPH guidance requires that districts like ours, where schools have not opened, must not open until at least 5 days out of purple tier. It's not only common sense, it's the law. Don't make CTA have to litigate. Do your job, follow public health guidance. Next, listen to scientists regarding when and how to open. You've got top tier resources available: Kim Prather, Chip Schooley, the entire UCS. Consult the experts so we return safely and successfully. And protect our award-winning academics by supporting and retaining our dedicated teachers. Trustee Allman on his Facebook page said, and I quote, "The district has plans to provide accommodations for teachers who have medical issues or have family members at risk or suffer from anxiety or have childcare issues. These teachers could teach from home as they do today." If Trustee Allman was truthful, then put it in writing from HR and stop the cruel uncertainty for teachers. Finally, collaborate and listen to the experts, administrators, and teachers regarding a plan. Instead of surprising us at board meetings by submitting and voting on unvetted, half-baked proposals that we've never seen before, let's work together. Let's hear the well-planned presentations by our Educational Services Department that was at the December board packet, but not discussed by the board, although it was thoughtfully socialized through principal coffees and meetings. Stop the radical, unsustainable proposals to reopen that come out of nowhere. This is giving us whiplash. Take time to listen to teachers, parents, and stakeholders to make a flexible, sustainable plan going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Bowerly, please.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. With the guidelines announced today by Governor Newsom, schools are now only open if an entire grade level has previously returned to campus at least one day for in-class education. This is a huge change to last fall's cohort guidelines under which our school was open. Where's the logic in this? This arbitrary definition of open makes absolutely no sense. How is in-person education considered a public health and safety issue if schools are open in the purple tier, if some schools are open in the purple tier and others are not? This is inconsistent, illogical, not based on science, and clearly a political power play. Think of the huge inequities in educational offerings in San Diego County as open schools continue to expand while we sit stagnant. This directive is meant to divide parents' efforts to fight against the union's ever-changing objections to in-person education. Some parents will be appeased, but the rest of us are stuck without hope. Board, please be creative in your approach to these new guidelines. Our district was ready to return to the classroom on January 4th, but was delayed by the SDFA's lawsuit. Perhaps the CTA knew of these guidelines and realized a delay strategy would ensure we were declared closed. I know you are aware of the many studies proving schools do not increase community transmission. More than ever, our kids need you to take immediate action. They cannot be isolated in their rooms for an entire year while the rest of the country, the world, in fact, values education enough to put kids in the same room as their teachers. Board, please be strong leaders. Lead our district out of this disaster created by the previous board, district leadership, and the union. Remember, Newsom's words are just guidelines, not laws, and likely to change again. Perhaps we vote to open anyway to protest this midstream guidance change by our governor. Perhaps we start thinking outside the box on cohorts and master schedules. Brian Marcus, we're calling upon you to quickly and creatively expand our cohorts in such a way that our kids can finally be in class with their teachers. Just waiting for the red tier is not a strategy, it's capitulation. Our board needs to act boldly and decisively and do whatever it takes to advocate for our kids and get us open ASAP.
Adam Fisher, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Please make sure that any reopening plan is developed collaboratively and has broad support, as opposed to the battles that have been taking place, especially between the board and teachers. We should all work together on ensuring we have the best and most sustainable plan for when the district is able to reopen. Specifically, there should be 4 main parts to any plan. First, follow public health rules and expert recommendations as to when it's legal and safe to reopen. Specifically, new state rules say very clearly that SDUHSD schools have not yet opened and therefore cannot reopen until the county has been out of the purple tier for 5 days. San Diego's current case rate as of this past Tuesday at 69.8 is around 10 times the threshold for the purple tier. UCSD recommendations based on experts from the Return to Learn program further reinforced the criteria for when it's safe to reopen, including fewer than 7 outbreaks over a 7-day period. We're now at 48. 2, allow teachers an option to telework. Teachers are showing they can teach remotely. It is equitable. It maintains the high educational quality for students and it reduces substitute teaching needs. Trustees Allman and Muir have both publicly stated their support for allowing teachers to telework. It should be agreed to by the board and district and put in writing. 3, follow science-based best practices. Listen to the guidance and experts such as Kim Prather and others at UCSD and ensure there is proper ventilation filtration, regular testing, sufficient distancing, stable groups, and other safeguards. And 4, listen to the educational experts. The district administrators and teachers are most familiar with and have the best situational understanding of what needs to happen in a classroom in order to maximize academic integrity and safety. Collaborate with them and let them drive the plan. Ensure there is academic equity and all students are offered the same quality of education and attention from teachers, whether remote or in person. There's a good framework for this in the December 15th meeting materials. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie McClellan. Carrie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I plead you to consider all the students in your decisions. There's a large group that distance learning is not working for. We hear about equitable learning, and these kids are not getting it. These kids are being ignored. They need in-person learning with a teacher in front of them. For 10 months, those against that learning returning have been heard and blocked by Families' Choice. My students have not been supported, educated, or voices heard, nor have they had a choice. No one asked my kids to find out what they wanted. There is robust data showing the harm and long-term damage from distance learning, emotionally, longevity, and education-wise for these kids. The seniors are losing valuable time and learning opportunities they will never get back. This is their only senior year. It's the only junior year these kids are going to have, their only sophomore year, and their only freshman year. These are life-defining moments. Education is much more than numbers and books and information coming to them through a computer. Those leaving the state to pursue college will be behind their peers because those kids have been in-person learning the entire year. Distance learning was a short-term solution, not a long-term education plan. Be courageous and make decisions for the betterment of all our students, not just maintaining the status quo because of pressure. Look across at schools in Orange County and nationally that have achieved our goal of returning students to the classroom and mitigating risks. You were elected to represent the community and put our students in education and their futures first. Is distance learning or letting our kids sit on campus for distance learning really the best we can do? Are the policies You're choosing giving the students the support needed for achievement of their goals. Can we really say that kids meeting their educational goals of lab-based science classes without stepping in a lab? We know it's not ideal. Our kids are asked to be resilient every day. I'm asking that the
Thank you, Carrie. Staff will now give an update regarding reopening. During the update, if you have any questions, please raise your hand.
So as we put on the summary, we did have our plan reviewed, and just being honest and transparent, San Diego County Public Health does not approve or disapprove plans. So we just wanted to be honest and transparent with the community. With that said, our plan is very robust, and the person who manages the plan that has all of the elements that we are required to have in it is sitting here. It's our Associate Superintendent, Tina Douglas. She did look very carefully at the questions and guidance that came from San Diego County Public Health and was able to address all of them. Some of it was just making sure we updated practices that we'd put in place with the plan that we have posted on our website. Her and her team have worked tirelessly and endlessly, a lot of it overlaying with Associate Superintendent Cindy Frazee. We attend meeting after meeting after meeting with Health and Human Services. We also monitor Cal OSHA and changes that are taking place there. And so I really want to praise the entire team, but especially those two, because those departments really are responsible for the health and safety aspects and the operational aspects of the plan. The list of technical questions and issues was provided to the San Diego Faculty Association president upon request. I would have to consider making sure we could post it publicly. I don't have a problem with that, but I'd want to make sure it was appropriate for us to do so. It did involve another agency in giving us those items. Secondly, we did request and receive an opportunity to have a site visit and inspection that was outlined earlier. Apparently that inspection and news of it reached one of the assembly members who sits on the statewide committee. And we were said to have some of the most robust safety and health operational aspects in the state of California. And I think that's a tribute to the team that's worked tirelessly and endlessly. And I want to make sure everybody knows that. We sit here meeting after meeting and we talk about the health and the safety of our students, our families, our staff, and our community. And we do take that very, very seriously. We are constantly seeking new advice and guidance, and we have worked with UC San Diego since last summer. We have followed the work that they have done. We have worked with epidemiologists and infectious disease experts. So I think it's a constant reminder might be needed in that regard. And we take all of their input seriously. Interestingly enough, in this pandemic, we are told follow the science, listen to the experts. Well, there are a lot of different science experts out there with lots of different opinions. And ultimately, the guiding and controlling authority for us is the San Diego County Public Health Department, and they have worked very closely with us. I look forward to receiving the report when it is put in writing. And again, to the extent that we can disclose it publicly, we're certainly willing to do so because we are transparent. And we want to make sure that everybody understands that we have hundreds and hundreds of students on campus right now and have been on campus since September, and we've kept them safe and we want to keep them safe. And so I think that should be acknowledged. The Siemens review was above and beyond. We've been installing HEPA filters now for quite some time. But we said, okay, let's bring in another outside authority to take a look and make sure and validate that what we're doing makes sense and is as the best we can do. And we actually learned some things, and we know that we can do more, and we know that we can even upgrade more air filtration than we've had in the past.
Do we have
that should be acknowledged. Yes.
Do we have a full report from them yet, or is that pending?
We do not have a full report. We've been working side by side with them. I would say it's at
We should have it
half stages.
by mid next week.
Okay, great, thank you.
Preliminary at this point. So that's why we were able to understand that in many of our spaces, we are able to upgrade to a MERV 12 filter. We actually could upgrade to a MERV 13, but based on the conversation with the inspector from the Health and Human Services Department, the MERV 12 provides full coverage where a MERV 13 would have gaps. so air could flow without going through the filter. So the recommendation from Siemens was a MERV 12.
Okay.
And we posed the question to the Health and Human Services Director, and he reiterated that 12 would be better. And so that's what we're looking at, but
We also posed the question to UC San Diego as well.
Correct.
We did not get an answer.
did not get an answer. And I just want to make sure that it's clear, there are spaces that we will not be able to upgrade to a MERV 12 filter. And that's where those additional HELPA units will come in handy. We've ordered them for larger spaces so that we'll be able to account for the square footage, the increased square footage in some of those spaces.
Will that be like an addendum to the report that they'll give a report of what we're doing, and then for any gaps that we have, that we'll be able to say, and these are the ways we're mitigating those gaps?
Yeah, and John Alleman has been working on that, like Dr. Haley said, with that spreadsheet from UCSD that accounts for all of that. And once we finish, because it's a very complicated formula, if you will, that takes into consideration if a classroom has a window or a door that can be open, because that increases the air exchange within a classroom. And so all of that is taken into consideration.
Thank you.
The next item I did want to address is what we put in the agenda. The California Department of Public Health is expected to issue new guidance. We had to post this in advance and make sure the public sees what we have before the board. We had hoped that the guidance would come out last week. Unfortunately, we never know with the California Department of Public Health. Sometimes we hear it'll come out for sure the next day, and it might not come out for 2 weeks. So it did not come out last Friday. It did not come out until today. So again, we had to build our agenda in advance. We didn't know when it would come out. We learned late last night that in all likelihood it would come out today, and that was confirmed this morning. I appreciate the fact that members of the public and others have had an opportunity to review it, perhaps necessarily before some of our staff members. I can tell you that most of my time today was either spent on one campus this morning at San Diego in a statewide meeting where I learned and confirmed that this guidance would be coming out today, and talked about it at 3 o'clock webinar that I wouldn't be able to participate in because we're sitting here. And then some time that I needed to take to meet with some of our staff in person in special education who have been with students since September, and we had something that needed to be addressed personally by me as superintendent. And so I thought that was the priority for my time today. But I look forward to really analyzing and digging into the new guidance with this team. And one of the things we heard, our site administrators and all across the district, everybody's a part of this team. The district is all of us together, and all voices and including our student voices are powerful and important. And also recognizing there are differences of opinions, and balancing those needs has been a challenge. And I've said this before, and I've probably said it since March 13th. We'll continue to do the best we can. Clearly, any plan that we come up with, anything that we do is going to function best if we do it collaboratively, and if we truly listen and we truly work together. My recommendation tonight would be that we hold a special meeting. I think you already mentioned that, Board President. We do need to look at the guidance, and I respect deeply the comment that was made. However, when the state issues guidance, they don't consider it guidance, and then it goes to the local health officer, which for us in San Diego County is Dr. Wilma Wooten. She is going to have to look at it and issue her local order, which is an order to us. And so we may even need more than one meeting. This is a very lengthy rewrite of the plan for the state. And so we'll need to take a look at it carefully and give you the best advice. But I would say tonight it would be premature to take any action.
Okay.
But I do want to reiterate that our commitment to the health and safety has been in place, not to last August, but to last March. And always looking at what we can do and making sure everybody is safe.
Elise, the comment?
Thank you very much for that update. The only thing that I would add is we've heard many comments about board decisions being made and changing. from one thing to the next. And unfortunately, we needed this guidance long ago. We needed it back in March, and we weren't given that guidance. And so we thoughtfully sifted through every piece of information that was given to us that constantly changed. And therefore, we had to change and be flexible as well. And that means everybody in this room. It means everybody on every campus, everybody in every household in San Diego Union High School District. And we're sorry for that. And I know we're all fatigued by it, but we're not giving up. And so we will follow what we are mandated to do because we are not the experts who came up with it. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, I would encourage you to take that up at the state level. Please don't take it out on us. So we will continue to listen to everyone, but there was a comment that was made that really resonated with me, and it is true. We are a nation and a district divided. And tonight, I want everybody to know I'm not divided. I care deeply about every single child and adult that I serve in this room and elsewhere, and I will listen to you. I will not shut you down. I bought a book this week called How to Be an Anti-Racist because I was asked to. I'm going to read it and I'm going to learn from it. Whether or not I agree with it, I'll let you know later, but I'm not closing my mind. I'm remaining open-minded because I don't know everything and I just want to value other people. Even if they're diametrically opposed to everything I believe in, they're still a human being and they deserve my respect. And so I would just ask if we could all do that this week. Would you just sit down with somebody who thinks completely opposite from you about something? And we just probably have to do that virtually. Maybe not. It could be in your own household or your own dinner table. But I would just ask, can we all just encourage each other just, going forward, can we just listen and can we try to respect one another and model that for our kids? They need that. They need their adults to start talking to one another and coming together in unification. So sorry, didn't know I was going there.
Okay, Katrina.
I think I'm going to pick up where you left off, and I think I alluded to it in the student summit, is that what impressed me the most and what really touched me was the fact that our kids really were doing what we want them to do and what I hope that we all should be doing, and is that they were listening to each other and they were finding ways to work together and find solutions. And to Melissa's point, I do hear a lot of accusations and finger pointing and sides. I hate the word sides. I keep on hearing this side. And if you really look at it, if you really boil down what people are talking about, we all share two things. We're all frustrated, and that goes into the whiplash. I mean, we've all experienced unimaginable changes in the past year, and it's only natural that we would feel whiplashed and confused and frustrated and angry. So knowing that, and we all truly desperately care about our children. And I know I look at all the children that are now in my care as my own, and I have tried my hardest to listen to all sides, and it's really hard. And it's not so much as that it's hard listening to another side, it's just that when you hear another person's perspective and you're trying to find a way to make it right, and you don't know how to get there, it's crushing. And I think I probably should speak for all the trustees when we say we're in a really hard position, but I have worked long, long hours. And I know when listening to the board reports, my trustees have done the same thing. We are committed to making this right for your kids because that's our job. So I would just ask to do what the kids have done and to stop pointing fingers, stop making accusations, start realizing that we all share the same frustrations and we all share the same love for our children, and that and put a little bit of trust. And I know that that's a hard word to say after a year of being separated, but we can just take a step back and trust each other and know that we are going to do everything possible within our limits to get kids on campus and allow them to go about their lives, because that's what we all want. So again, I didn't know I was going to go there, but I.
Question for you is that when you were on the site, did you feel that when you were at this morning, you did the walkthrough, did you feel like the site was ready to go? That we had done everything to bring our kids safely back?
I would add because I've been on the site twice now, and one was to visit to talk about actually reopening for schools, and this was more the cohorts. I would say that they are ready, they're excited to have kids back. And I think that's something that to tell our community, that it's not that we are holding back from reopening, it's that we are ready. We are, these guidance that we've been waiting to come out and has caused so much whiplash, we've been waiting to make sure that what we do is right and thoughtful and measured and safe and intelligent.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Couple things, please. On the communication, and one of my frustrations, Rob, we talked about this a little bit, and had the question earlier. What can we tell or not tell people when a student or an adult tests positive in the class? Now, I know that in something like that, it's a legal analysis. We may have a view, we may find out later that we're wrong. But I think, that's one example of, we kind of hear 5 or 6 times that a concern is around that issue. It just seems to me it would be quite valuable if we have an answer to just articulate it and get it in a FAQ somewhere. So if our answer is, and so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the answer is it's our opinion that HIPAA laws prevent us from saying someone in this classroom tested positive. Is that right?
I will defer to Cindy Frazee. Overall has responsibility in this area, but while we're thanking people, one of her key persons that she works with, one of her directors is Tina Peterson, who's worked really tightly with San Diego County Health and Human Services. So when we say our opinion, it's their opinion. We defer to what, again, I use the phrase and I've been using it since last March, like there's guiding authorities. The county office is a guiding authority. The San Diego County Public Health Department, which is housed in Health and Human Services, they're a controlling authority. When they tell us to do something, we have to do it. The other person that has worked very closely with Cindy Frazee and Tina Peterson, it kind of crosses over, is Tiffany Hazelwood, because she's responsible for students and working with our nurses. So with that, I'll turn it over to Cindy to articulate that. And if we don't have that in the FAQ, I'll make sure we get it updated.
Yeah, we can get the actual legal reference for that and under the HIPAA law or the different laws. But clearly, we've also had all of our letters and all of our documentation to report reviewed by legal counsel. And those letters were reviewed and actually rewritten by legal counsel. And as I look at samples from the California Department of Public Health, they align with those samples as well, where we're not allowed to tell who that person was. And we do all of our contact tracing, we do all of our notifications in alignment with what has been recommended through the CDPH.
Okay, I think your answer was close, but I think it just illustrates as one example why when we have something in writing and we can change it, it is what it is, but I feel like sometimes we spin around in circles. Because what I just heard you say, Cindy, is we can't say that Jim Smith tested positive. I get that.
That is correct.
Can we say someone in this class, Mrs. Teacher Smith's class?
We cannot.
Thank you.
We've been told that clearly. We do alert everybody on a campus.
Correct.
But we can't make it too narrow because the concern is that people will then try to figure out who it was.
So the way our process works, if this helps, and I'm sorry, if you want me to go ahead and see if there's questions? Okay. The way the process works is that either it is reported to us by public health or by an employee that they have tested positive. We immediately contact the employee that day. We speak to that employee. We ask about the reference of, have you been within 6 feet of someone for 15 minutes in the last 24 hours? They would identify their close contacts. Those close contacts get a phone call that day. Those close contacts are the ones that, we, again, will say to them, where have you been? Who have you been around? And then we, from there, reference and say, okay, you've been identified as a close contact. We're also sending you written notification of that. And then we also are able to send them for testing. Then from there, once we've identified the close contacts, we also send out a letter to whatever facility that is, if that person's been to all of those people that someone on that campus or in that facility tested positive for COVID on this date. So
I jump in there because this related again to one of the comments, and you said to send for testing. So in San Diego County, testing for school districts following the guidance, luckily there was a lot of foresight at the county level and with the Board of Supervisors, and they took that responsibility. In other parts of the state, that did not occur. So we were completely ready for serial testing to begin following the guidance that we were following last fall. We did an entire round of serial testing for all of our employees, and then started the subsequent testing following the recommendations that were made, 50% of our staff a month. In addition, I can speak for myself because I'm out so much. I've been tested more, and they don't turn anyone away. And I know a particular employee that's been on campus at one of our schools, and he's very committed to his students and his site, and he would go every Monday. So that was in place. We've been negotiating and working with UC San Diego for months. This is a ratification, and sometimes people don't understand approval versus ratification, but we have been working with UC San Diego. This is supplemental, so that if she's making that phone call or someone on her team, and to allay a fear, we can send somebody right away for a stricter, higher level of testing. That's what this is about. And do the same. I know you're talking on staff right now, but the same then for students.
Same for students.
My main point is that I've heard the same questions like 6, 8, 10 times now. And I think in almost all the cases, it could be cleared up with some direct written communication, and the fact seems reasonable. So we don't need to hear, in my view, until we change it.
Unfortunately, and I do agree with you, unfortunately, I think sometimes we have things that just get repeated anyway.
Well,
if we can clear this up better, we
an answer very well could be. I've heard many times in public comments in these board meetings, please tell the teachers, or one of the reasons the teachers are uncomfortable is because we don't have a policy to tell them when someone tests positive in their class. If there was an FAQ, in my view, the appropriate answer should say, read question 17.
Okay.
Okay.
I agree.
And the answer is this.
Can I ask a supplemental question? Because I think maybe it adds like some clarification or might help. Is I know that the definition of close contact is public health guidance. Is there a way that we could adopt a different definition? Because to me,
it's not public health guidance, it's a public health order. They are controlling authority.
So they're saying that it must be 6 feet for more than 15 minutes.
So there's another guiding authority, the Center for Disease Control, and they often make changes. And so we look at that, but that is not the order. The order is done at the San Diego County Public Health level, so they issue the order. So there was a period of time where CDC had changed guidance, but it hadn't been changed by the public health officer here in San Diego.
So could we on our own decide to not make it less restrict, but more so that you would be able to be notified if you were, let's say you're 6 feet from someone for 10 minutes, that you would be able to you would get that notification versus 15 minutes. So it would prompt more.
We're on the side of notifying close contacts. So we already do that.
I guess because to me, I also have received letters from when I did site visits. And so I received several of them, and you and I talked about that. And I was told that I wasn't anywhere near the person who had tested positive. But at the same time, if the definition, I just didn't know if I don't have full confidence in the definition. And I wonder, if I was 6 feet from a person and just 5, I was with them for less than 15 minutes, but let's say I was with them for 16 minutes and they didn't know, or even if we were to reduce the time limit, so then I would be able to, on my own, make a choice. So not that I would be too nervous that I got a phone call saying that you had close contact with someone, but it would allow me, to Michael Almond's point, it would allow me to have a choice. So I know that I can either kind of self-quarantine myself from my family, or I could go get myself tested. So it would give me that choice to be able to make public health decisions for my own self and my family. So it might allow for more notification in a more confidential way. So I wouldn't necessarily know it was Melise that I was in close contact with, but then I know that I had more of exposure and I can make that choice for myself.
So the answer to that, I really don't know that answer. We can get that answer for you. I think, you know, if we're getting.
Well, I think we partially do know first of all, we can't change the definition, but where we can't verify that it might have been 8 minutes or 16 minutes, or we err on the side of assuming close contact. So in the scenario you were describing, you probably would have been then notified that you were a potential close contact.
I know I wasn't 6 feet from someone for more than 15 minutes, but I could have been 6 feet from someone for, you know, for a half an hour. I could have been 6 feet from someone for 5 minutes. And in my opinion, I could have been exposed to COVID just as easily as the 15-minute part. So the time makes me more nervous than 6 feet, I guess. And so all I'm saying is that I would feel better knowing that I just came into contact with anyone who tested positive. So therefore I can make my own choices. So does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
And like, even though that's their definition, is there a way that we can redefine our definition for 6 feet for whatever we deem just another timeframe, because then that would allow more notification and that might help.
Rather than speculating here, we can pose your question directly. We do have that opportunity. I think I know the answer, but I will.
I think I do too, but I
appreciate you looking into that. Thank you.
Okay, if I could come back to one thing, if you could confirm, Rob, and it goes to, if we can capture this, maybe we can, you know,
go ahead.
We can have these questions and we can say, you know, asked and answered kind of thing. Is it your understanding that the state guidance is guidance, but not law, but the controlling authority is the county health department? Did I understand that right?
That's a little trickier. So the governor can and has issued executive orders. We hear the board president read them. So when he issues the next executive order, it has for us in this situation, the force of law. Secondly, the California Department of Public Health is also a controlling authority. They can issue public health orders at the state level. Having worked directly with some of them, they view guidance as an order to be followed. With that said, I've heard people speculate, well, it says guidance and that's frustrating. Superintendents across the state express that frustration to the state. At the San Diego County Public Health Officer level, what she will do is generally in her order refer to the guidance and say, my order is follow the guidance. So it's, in the end, we have to follow it.
Okay, we don't have to dwell on it, but if the county were to say, my understanding is that the new guidance said 4 feet of distance is a must, as a minimum. If the San Diego County were to say, well, we're going to go back to 6 feet or 3 feet, could they do that if they wanted or no?
I can assure you, having worked directly with the public health officer and her staff, they give great deference to the guidance that comes from the California Department of Public Health. They would never lower a standard, if you will. They would say, and again, I haven't read it. I was alerted that the new minimum standard was 4 feet, but that's a caveat. It's still 6 feet or more is practical. But with that said, they would never go and say, well, 3 feet.
Okay.
I am aware that in other counties, some situations have come up like that, but not in San Diego County.
Okay, I think that makes sense. One last thing, a couple of comments again in the public comments about negotiations with the faculty association. Have they ever told you or any of your staff in writing, if you will, something of the form of, we would agree to come back and teach in the classrooms if, and then here's the list?
I don't know I think I would be cautious about answering that question here in open session. And we do meet very, very regularly with the associations, both the classified and the certificated. We will continue to do so. I fully appreciate hearing comments about collaborating. And again, I think that any plan that we have is going to be best operative, even going back in the past where we've had, people weigh in and have their voice heard. I want people to have confidence that the things that we are doing are guided by the experts.
I just wonder if we know what they want.
It was a MOU. That was a.
We've had different, memorandums of understanding and side letters.
Yeah. Does the public know what they need to see to come back to teach?
I think what Mike is asking, are we being transparent?
I believe we are being transparent. I'm also, there's some legal stuff that I don't want this board to get sideways with, and some laws that, and again, another controlling authority, the Public Employees Relations Board. So I caution that we not go too far there.
Fair enough.
I get what you're saying. I think what he's saying, are we doing something now that they want to have done and we haven't done it? I think that's, as far as these teachers that have been there have said, once again, our filtration system is not good, but yet I believe it is the best. Is that, and I get where Mike's coming from. So I keep hearing that over again in the comments, and we've had trustees go today. We've been there. We've had the health people come out, and I don't really know why that still is persisting.
I understand.
So I do have a few comments. I want to let everyone know. Like you said, it came out here at 3:00. We're going to have a special board meeting, another board meeting on Tuesday at 5:00. Give you time to digest that, get back to us. And I made it on Tuesday because if we need to make it on Thursday, we're in the middle of epidemic, and we should be meeting as much as possible. We want to get our kids safely back on campus as soon as we are able to. And I just want to say, when they talk about communication, we could be better. And we discussed this earlier, and I like what you said about having an all call. We're going to try a multi-pronged approach. Is that, again, we're hearing many comments on communication, and it sounds like you're working on it, and we want to be transparent, make sure everyone knows what we're doing. So thank you. Okay.
Before we do 10B, can we take a 5-minute break?
Sure.
Thank you.
A 5-minute break.
Ms. Schultz, are we live?
Yes, we are.
We're adjourning our meeting. We've had a discussion from staff during the break as they may not be able to make Tuesday. We've got another meeting. They have another meeting planned, the facilities, and Tina was speaking about that. Could we possibly move the meeting to Thursday? Could we do 5:00? And everyone can,
Yeah, Thursday's better for me, so.
Thursday,
Yes.
please.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Thursday at 5:00.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Report on non-discrimination in district programs and activities and equity. There are 8 requests for public comment on this item. When your name is called, you will be unmuted and have 2 minutes to provide your spoken comment. The first speaker is Mally Woods. And thank you for waiting.
Hi, this is Molly. Would you mind actually coming back to me? I'm just trying to pull up my comments right now.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Kristen Fay.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead. Thank you.
I am a parent and an adult co-lead of the Youth Committee for Encinitas for Equality, and I have been mentoring and working with these amazing students who will be presenting now for you for the last 6 months. My comments were based off of what the students originally thought they were presenting on, the proposal they have submitted numerous times to share their experiences, and to work with the district to truly create change and not just have policies that represent only words with no actual effect felt by teachers or students. I would like to highlight the importance of the following based off the work done by these students through Diversify Our Narrative and many of the other clubs they have formed in response to this time in our history. One is the recognition and support for multicultural holidays, such as Indigenous Peoples Day and Cesar Chavez Day. 2, a public and visual commitment by the board, district, and schools in ways such as banners, flags, websites, and social media. 3, an equity committee based off the support statement passed by you in September that needs to be run by consultants of color and includes students, guardians, administrators, and teachers of color. In addition, those who represent other marginalized groups should have a seat at the table. 4, a systematic change in response to racism in our schools. Students of color need to know that they can speak up safely when they face any form of racism, whether it be overt or casual. And the offenders need to be properly disciplined, not just a slap on the wrist and sent on their way. 5 is to require educators, board members, and staff to participate in training as part of their professional development that cover topics such as anti-racism, anti-bias, and culturally responsive teaching. 6 is the need for curriculum changes and representation that reflects the experiences and history of all members of our community in books and other learning materials. I see this agenda item as a first step in the many in working towards actual policy being more than just words. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 3, please. Speaker number 3, please.
Unmute. Okay, research by Dr. Remy Salisbury says schools need to live and hire more teachers of color. Teachers should be thoroughly trained to improve their own understanding of racism so they can effectively teach it in their own classrooms. White students need to learn how much racism shapes lives, schools, and all teachers with personnel working there. Issues like racial slurs, building debasement, unconscious microaggressions, systemic inequalities should be addressed and brought up in discussions in class. Your youth have been asking to speak to you for so many months, since July. And this is a heresy because they have been asking, they even protested in front of your school with posters and signs, and they know what it's like to live in your district and be targets of racial slurs and microaggressions and Twitter and Facebook defacement of their own being, and that should not happen. The time you should take care of this is now because it's the pandemic, and you know that people of color are most hard hit by this. It is very difficult now, and they have wanted to change the curriculum and change the history and have it be more of a real history so they can learn about what their ancestors were like back 200 years ago, not like since 1776 when white people were in ruling classes, and the indigenous peoples need to be introduced into their curriculum. You are the creators of your future. You can slide backwards or create something new. You are the board. And your students suffer when you silence your youth speaking their truth.
Jody White, please.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I'm a parent and one of the co-founders of Encinitas for Equality. Our goal is to foster, support, and protect racial diversity and equity in Encinitas and neighboring communities. To that vision, I am speaking to request that the board support their students' requests for systemic changes in response to racism in schools by making curriculum changes and representation in the running of an equity task force or committee. The community needs to see that the board is behind anti-racism in schools, especially in this current climate. Recognizing multicultural holidays is a starting point, but what is really needed is anti-bias and anti-racism training for the board members itself and all staff at all schools. After all, we have heard earlier, successful and educated teachers create successful and educated students. We must equip them. in order to be successful. We've also heard earlier how Poway Unified has been identified as a leader of best practices in return to school. I want you to also know and be aware that they are also leading in their commitment to fight racism and correct systemic inequality within their schools. If you are not aware of that, I strongly recommend that you review their stance. I respect how honest and open they are about what is actually happening in our society right now, and I urge you all to do the same. Your duty is to lead our youth by example rather than the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Stenger, please.
I'm a parent of 2 students in SDUHSD, and I'm also a teacher, a white teacher who's been on a journey of making my curriculum and my classroom culture one that faces racism and hard history with frank and open discussion. It's not an easy journey. It will never end, and I'm not perfect at it. However, I'm incredibly proud to say that I taught Aya, whom you'll hear from later. And while I don't take credit for her brilliance, I would like to think that my teaching played some small role in making it possible for her to be, as Katrina and Melise noted, so thoroughly impressive. This is why it has been disheartening for me to hear from her and from so many other students, as well as teachers, that our district has resisted doing the hard work to create a truly inclusive culture. While the students you'll hear from will share their incredible grassroots work they're doing, and we should encourage and applaud their efforts, be not mistaken that behind their optimism and can-do spirit is real hurt. In fact, real outrage. Your policy includes nice but mediocre language that refers to bias and equity, but fails to address racism directly. What our students want and what our nation needs is a direct acknowledgement of the historic need for white people to maintain their superiority, and the systems and cultures that enforce this fallacy. White students, my own children included, have the privilege of studying the history of their own ancestors, of seeing mentors and teachers that look and speak like they do, and receiving the benefit of the doubt that they're always well-meaning good kids. All the while, students of color grow up at risk of internalizing a sense of inferiority, or worse, experiencing blatant racism. We're better than this. Poway is a community traditionally more conservative and homogenous than Encinitas, and yet they've been out in front and engaging in deep and difficult self-reflection and producing a comprehensive plan that resolves to fight racism in all its forms. SDUHSD needs an equivalent plan that examines bias and racism throughout our school system, that provides for anti-racist education and leadership, and that commits our school system to diversifying our faculty and curriculum, and that responds unwaveringly to discrimination. The intrepid students you'll hear from today are brave and wise in their years.
Kathleen Parantaman.
My name is Kathleen Parandaman, and I'm a future parent at SDUHSD. Student leaders from Diversify Our Narrative and Encinitas for Equality Youth Group have been prepared to share their lived experiences of racism on campuses across SDUHSD since July. Both school leadership and the board are not interested in having these experiences made public and requested that students put forth a more palatable presentation. SDUHSD and the board have not publicly taken a stance against racism, despite the racialized events of the past year. A statement including equity, diversity, and inclusion is not acceptable and will not suffice. In the board's equity policy, which does not call out racism, it states that, quote, the board shall make decisions with a deliberate awareness of impediments of learning faced by students of color, end quote. An all-white board and district leadership are not equipped to recognize that white supremacy, acts of racism, racist microaggressions, a lack of representation in curriculum among their teachers and in the school culture and calendar are all impediments to learning and must be remedied with systemic changes. The Equity Task Force promised during the September 2020 board meeting needs to be implemented with assurances that representation of students, parents, teachers, and administrators of color are included and have opportunity to work with a BIPOC consultant. With the support of the Equity Task Force, systemic changes must be considered to address how racism is responded to within our schools. As the students can share, despite the district stating that teachers know about restorative practices, students experience inconsistent or no support and do not see a clear, just, and direct policy being implemented. I expect and request to see students of color regularly presenting on the board agenda for continued opportunities to truly share the racism on campuses and without being requested to avoid uncomfortable conversations for the sake of the adults in the room.
Thank you. Maria Figueroa.
Good evening, Superintendent Haley, Board President, and trustees. It goes without saying that we are in a state of crisis, a state where our children are watching as adults struggle to facilitate words of reason. Sometimes it is easier to sit the sidelines and spectate. Spectating and not acting or addressing the challenges before us is simply irresponsible. As a parent of a new freshman in this district and a fellow educator teaching in higher education in our area, I urge the board to not be bystanders and spectators, but to be courageous examples of justice and truth. Listen to the students, to the youth, when they come to you with the request to honor multicultural holidays extending beyond our traditional ones. Believe them when they share their narratives about experiencing racism in this district. Listen to them when they tell you they want to read alternative narratives in history and English disciplines. In his seminal text, A Different Mirror, the late historian Ronald Takaki warns us of the filter known as the master narrative, where anyone who does not look or sound white or American must be foreign, othered, and therefore less important. Should this district's leadership continue to dismiss the demands of racial justice in our schools for specifically culturally competent professional development for teachers, for expanding the curriculum to include and amplify the voices of historically underserved communities, then you will be complicit in further perpetuating the master narrative and deeming many students and parents in your area less important and less significant. Now is a time to engage your moral compass and decide in the best interest of our students and our community, a commitment you made when elected.
Thank you. Elaine?
Mrs. Muir, the last speaker is not online. However, you can go back to the first one.
Okay, thank you. Melly Woods, please.
Hi, this is Molly. Thank you for placing this item on agenda and giving the public a chance to speak on the importance of diversity and inclusion in our schools. My name is Molly Woods Drake. I'm the executive director and co-founder of Encinitas for Equality. I'm here to strongly propose our E4E led by Aya Jaffer and Joy in the DON 8 months have shown more courage, passion, and under the importance of diversity and multiculturalism in our school and country than most adults. It's imperative to the future, not just our students, but quite frankly, our country's future as a whole, that we begin to take an honest assessment of ourselves, our organizations, and our school systems that have for many, many years benefited from the lack of diversity in teaching an accurate history. I ask that the board vote to recognize and support multicultural holidays, publicly and visually commit as a board to support diversity and inclusion, create an equity task force that includes students, admin, staff, students of color run by consultants of color, systemic and swift changes in response to racism in schools, and especially those perpetuated by board members and staff, required education and staff trainings, curriculum changes, and representation within our staff. The reality is the youth at E4E and DON have already shown us that they will seek this education elsewhere. They will demand justice and equality in the streets, the classrooms, and I hope someday in elected positions. Our teachers are doing the same. They're using their own time and financial resources to seek diversity and inclusion trainings. They're finding creative ways to educate and support all of our students, the movement for Black lives, and for all minority groups. It's happening, and our youth are asking for your support in becoming better citizens of this world. So I ask the board, will you find the courage, passion, empathy, and open-mindedness our students show, or will you fall on the wrong side of history because it benefits you? I hope it's the former, but those of us who believe in justice and equity will continue to do the work regardless. We just know the path forward is easier and better for our youth when we work together. Thank you.
Thank you. The students will present a report regarding this item, and then we'll hear from staff.
Mrs. Muir, we're pulling up the presentation right now, so one moment, please.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right. Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Haley, we are so honored to be here, and we thank you so much for allowing us to present and sharing our story tonight. We'll introduce ourselves as well as our school and our grade throughout the presentation. To start us off, I'm Joe Rupert, a sophomore at San Diego Academy and the co-president of the Encinitas for Equality Youth Group, SDA's Multicultural Anti-Racism Coalition, and the North County Coastal Director of Gen Up San Diego, and we are Diversify Our Narrative, SDUHSD, a grassroots student-led organization. Next slide, please. What we will be discussing throughout this presentation is how we found each other, what the San Diego Unified School District is currently doing that aligns with our goals and initiatives, what we have done and what we hope to accomplish, and finally, how staff, students, and admin can get involved and become a part of our team. Ella will now take you on to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ella. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I'm a senior at CCA, and I'm just going to share some background on how our group came to be. So basically, earlier this semester, SUHSD's chapter of Diversify Our Narrative, which I'll just call Dawn from now on, it's when it was founded. And basically, Dawn is a nationwide initiative dedicated to incorporating more texts of by authors of color in English and literature classrooms, and having more like discussions on identity, bias, and race within the classroom as well. So as one of the first members of SUHSD's chapter of Dawn, I was looking for ways to outreach to more SUHSD students because I felt that the issues that we were targeting would need more students across the district involved. So one day, sort of like coincidentally, I opened up Encinitas Advocate, which is like the newspaper, and I saw that some SDA students who are actually like Joy and Aya were holding a protest that sort of targeted issues similar to what Dawn was trying to do. And I learned that they were part of Encinitas for Equality, or E4E, which works to foster racial diversity and equity in Encinitas. So in hopes of a collaboration, I just sort of reached out to Joy and Aya over Instagram. And, you know, ever since then, I think this was like August or maybe September, we've been working together pretty regularly, multiple times a week. And it's been really, really awesome. So yeah, that's just a little bit about how we came to be, and now I'll pass it off to Kylie.
Next slide, please. Hi, I'm Kylie. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. So like Ella said, hi, I'm Kylie. I'm a senior at CCA, and I'm a member of both Dawn and the Raven Diversity Network at CCA. And I'll be touching a bit on what the district's already done regarding diversity and inclusion. And so first of all, we want to acknowledge and really thank the district for their continued work on equity within our schools, from reaching out and meeting with the San Diego County Office of Education Equity Division Office to their efforts on non-discrimination policy and those guidelines within our schools. There's like definitely no doubt that they've been active in their efforts to combat racial discrimination. And as a student organization, we've also had the incredible opportunity to meet with board trustees Young and Mossy, as well as Deputy Superintendent Miller and Associate Superintendent Marcus. And their input and their guidance has been so helpful, and we're so grateful to them for allowing us the chance to meet with them and collaborate. And Dawn exists to be a bridge between the district and the school sites, so we're really excited to continue to work with the board and other district members in the future. And now I'll let Roxy take the next slide.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, my name is Roxy Morris. I'm a senior at Canyon Crest Academy, and I'm also co-leader of this district's Diversify Our Narrative chapter. So what have we been doing since the summer when we first started up this chapter? Well, we've been connecting with organizations led by students from across the district. This encapsulates CCA's Raven Diversity Network, Gen Up San Diego, No Place for Hate Club, and SDA's Multicultural Anti-Racism Coalition. In August, alongside other Dawn chapters, we pushed for the passing of Bill AB 331 through the California Senate. This was a bill that proposed making ethnic studies a high school graduation requirement for California high schools, starting with the graduating classes of 2029 and 2030. We've also organized district-wide projects furthering our goals of ethnic diversity and awareness. So like right now we're working on a project titled Personal Stories, which is a project that showcases instances of racism experienced by our own students of color throughout our district. We have been drafting district proposals and letters, as well as arranging protests and planning events that introduce ethnic studies to educators, like a webinar we are hosting tomorrow that we will be giving more information on in a bit. And we have also been submitting public comments to board meetings and meeting with local ethnic studies professors through our connections with Encinitas for Equality, who have been giving us some great advice on how to actualize ethnic studies practices into our own classrooms here in SDUHSD. So yeah, now I'm going to hand it over to Frances, who's going to talk more about our future plans on the next slide.
Hi, everyone. Is my voice coming through?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So hi, I'm Frances. I'm also a CCA senior and the other co-leader for Diversify Our Narrative SDUHSD, and I'm going to be talking about some of our goals for the future. Moving forward, one of our main goals is to grow our DAWN team. So as of right now, we have students from CCA, SDA, and we've also met with administrators from Torrey Pines and LCC. And our goal is to have participation from all the schools in this district so we can really unite students under this common mission of promoting diversity and inclusion in our classrooms. And we would also like to connect with parents, teachers, and community members as well. And as Kylie mentioned earlier, we hope to continue meeting with board members and school administrators in order to accomplish our shared goals. We would also like to encourage all school sites to establish their own diversity clubs and have our weekly DAWN meetings serve as sort of a safe space where students, parents, teachers, really anyone who wants to come join us, we can all come together, help each other out, share ideas, and have proactive conversations about diversity. Another focus of ours is to hold events such as multicultural days to celebrate our district's diversity and webinars such as one we're holding tomorrow to give everyone an opportunity to learn from professionals about ethnic studies and ways to be actively anti-racist. Ultimately, we would like to pass our DAWN proposal, which is to have mandatory texts by authors of color and corresponding curriculum in English and literature classes, and have ethnic studies be a separate course and high school graduation requirement. Now I'll pass the next slide over to Aya.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I'm Aya Jaffer, sophomore at San Diego Academy and the co-president of the Multicultural Anti-Racism Coalition and Encinitas for Equality. I'm going to be explaining to the board as well as any students, staff, or admin watching on how to get in touch with and involved with Diversify Our Narrative so we can continue meeting and working together as a district-wide equity group. Once again, DAWN is open to anyone involved in the district, whether that be teachers, parents, students, or board members. You can first email DAWN with your name, school, and email address. This email address will be used to add you to a Slack channel where all the information is relayed. You can also go to diversifyournarrative.com and click on Get Involved, click on Join Us, and fill out the form under Become an Organizer. We also have weekly meetings, which are Fridays at 3 p.m. on Zoom, and there's more information, including the DAWN proposal, which can be found on our Linktree. And next, I pass the slide on to Shiva, who will be talking about the webinar.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Shiva Consagra. I'm a junior at CCA and a member of Diversify Our Narrative. I'll be giving more information about the webinar, which is tomorrow, Friday, from 3 p.m. to 4:15 p.m. Diversify Our Narrative SDUHSD is hosting a webinar that is called Discussing Racial Bias, Identity, and Diversity in the Classroom. This is really geared towards teachers, but parents and students are also welcome to come. And I also just want to take this time to extend the invite to the board trustees as well. Our hope is for teachers to be introduced to the conversation of diversity and then further this conversation in their own classrooms. Our speakers will break down how to address this topic for different STEM and humanities classes, briefly discuss the history of ethnic studies, and explain why ethnic studies classes are important. We have 4 speakers, 2 professors who are both involved with Encinitas for Equality, and 2 members of the nationwide Diversify Our Narrative organization. So if you're a teacher, and even if you're not, please sign up using the link on the screen. It's completely free. You can also use the QR code by scanning it with your camera or by using an app. The webinar will also be recorded, so even if you can't make it, we will send out the video to everyone that has signed up. So I hope to see you all there. I'll now pass it on to Emma.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Emma and I'm a senior at CCA. We hope this presentation provided information on our current and past projects, as well as what we hope to accomplish moving forward. We look forward to collaborating with you all in the near future in the hope of building up and adding to the incredible sense of community we already have within SDUHSD. Thank you again, Madam President, Board Trustees, and Superintendent Haley for this opportunity. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
So you guys obviously have done a lot of incredible work. Your presentation speaks to that. And you've talked very eloquently about next steps that you would like to see within the district. If there's one thing that you would want to prioritize that you think that we as a district should embrace and that would be most beneficial to our community, what would you suggest that be?
I can start off on this one and then everyone feel free to jump in. But I think something that would be very beneficial that I think we all can agree on is to just have continued meetings like this, because we've met with trustees Young and Mossy before, and we're very grateful for that. But we want to kind of continue this relationship so we can continue, making progress on these goals that we have, because if we have a lot of these goals, and I know a lot of them will take a little bit more time to come to fruition, but if we can just continue having these conversations and this relationship with one another, I think that would be extremely beneficial.
I love that.
Okay, is that it? Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for coming
Thank you
tonight.
very much. It was very thorough. So I did ask Associates Deputy Superintendent Miller and Associate Superintendent Marcus to take the lead on meeting with them. Very appreciative. It ended up overlapping with the same period of time we were having our site inspection and interviews. I had hoped to participate, but it was going to be difficult to be in two places at once. Really appreciate the trustees for being there. And again, I think it's important that we hear from all voices and our students directly, and I'm really appreciative. Also wanted to highlight the work that is going on in the district, things that staff have going. So with that, Deputy Superintendent Miller.
Thank you. I want to thank our students for their courageous leadership and for speaking tonight. It was a pleasure meeting with them, along with Associate Superintendent Marcus and Trustees Young and Mossy on Tuesday afternoon to really hear their perspectives. As I shared with our students on Tuesday, I don't want this to come off as defensive or reactionary. However, I think it is important that in addition to the work that our sites are doing to address inclusion, diversity, and equity on their campuses, as a district, I think it's important to highlight some of the targeted efforts that we've been making to address equity. Our specific focus has been on the social emotional well-being of our students, building a culture of care, fostering communities that are connected, aware, responsible, and empathetic. At the macro level, we have revised our board policies to address non-discrimination, positive school climate, and harassment. We update our annual notification letter every year that goes out to families, outlining our policies as it relates to hate, violence, intimidation, and threats to others. Our work includes targeted resources on our webpage as it relates to bullying. And we've made an effort to make sure every student in our district has a trusted adult on campus for which they can go in the event that they are bullied or harassed. And we have worked with our staff to intervene. Each student ID card now has an important support number, and each website has a means to report incidences on campuses or in the community. In addition to policies, we have built out an extensive targeted tiered systems of support for students to reach students in need. This includes our LCAP process, which includes looking at student subgroup data to address gaps and needs in the district. One such area that we've targeted was we found anomalies in our suspension and expulsions for specific subgroups of students. And so we immediately contracted with the San Diego County Office of Education to provide restorative practices training to our staff. That has been ongoing for the last 4 years. Staff has also been involved in conferences so that we can gain and glean more information. Specifically, last year, we attended the San Diego County Office of Education Equity Conference, and we look to send a large team this year. Now, with that said, we know that there have been incidences of racism on our campuses, and for that, I am.
So one of the questions that's come up is about this conference. San Diego County has really been the leader in the state around some of the equity work over the last few years. And we've been a part of planning this conference and participating in this conference since it began. And when I say we, many members of our staff, from counselors to administrators to assistant principals. This year's conference is going to be very different. The state superintendent's conference is coming up and it's going to be very different. But we're still participating. And a lot of people have said, well, who's participating? And we make it as open as we possibly can. And I looked at the list. I know we have teachers, counselors, again, APs. It's a very diverse list of people who are participating.
Yeah, and it was very beneficial last year. This year it is in a virtual format, so we're going to see how that works out. You know, as I was saying, you know, I know that we've talked a lot about the work that we're doing in our district, and I know that there was public comments about action, and I know that there have been incidences of racism within our campuses, and for that I am truly sorry. I would like to ask our students to seek out their trusted adults if an incident happens so that we can be aware, because we do take these incidences seriously, and we want to intervene in a collaborative manner. I know that often folks want to know, well, what happened to the student? Well, we're not at liberty to share what happens with students if something happens. But what I can tell you is that we do take these seriously and that we are always looking to resolve these in a collaborative manner so that we can keep moving forward. So
I think it's important to point out there too, it's both accountability. You know, when someone does something or makes a mistake, they're held accountable. At the same time, we need to educate.
Right.
What can we learn from what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I've learned as a principal of an alternative school, you know, I often receive students that were coming and something happened in their life, and often it was as a result of discipline. And what at first and foremost at the forefront was always how can we educate and how can we help them so that ultimately they are graduating as an educated citizen to go out and be productive within society. So to move us forward, we want to continue to address equity and racism within our school and within our district. So we recently met with the San Diego County Office of Education Equity Division, and we are looking to partner with them moving forward to support collaborative conversations on race and equity, to provide professional development. And ultimately, we want to ensure that all students have access to opportunities and the supports that they need to thrive in our schools. You know, ultimately, we want to ensure that social or cultural factors, including income, zip code, ethnicity, gender, language, and learning ability, are not predictors of whether students are prepared for college and/or career. I think one of our challenges now, and this was reiterated loud and clear with the County Office of Ed, this is sensitive work. This is time-consuming work. This is work that is not something that can be done tomorrow or the next day. This is ongoing work. I was in a school district that this was a 3 to 5 year plan. And this isn't really work that you want to do over a laptop and through a Google Meetings. There are emotions, there are feelings, there are stories, and those can only be done, I'll be honest, face to face and in conversations where you can have within a room. So I think that is a challenge, and it's not to say that it's an obstacle we can't overcome, but that is one of the challenges and hurdles that we're facing. Again, thank you, students, for your courageous leadership. I cannot thank you enough, and that I'll turn it over to Mr. Marcus.
Yeah, no, thank you, Deputy Miller. I think the thing that I would like to add in is I'm very proud of these young ladies for their work ethic and their ability to bring students together. I also want to thank our site administration and our teachers who serve as liaisons for clubs, and they run clubs during their lunch period after school and give the opportunity for these amazing kids to have that voice and an opportunity to come together on the school sites. One thing I'm most proud of that we're starting, and we've gotten to meet a multitude of times, is the expansion of this, that it can't be done just at 2 school sites. It's got to be done across the district. And I really applaud their effort to reach out to Torrey Pines and LCC. I thank Mr. Shockney, Assistant Principal at Torrey Pines, Ms. Garman at La Costa Canyon High School for stepping up and kind of meeting with students at each of those school sites And I look forward to further conversations across the district where we can raise awareness not only at the school sites, but we can continue to work together to raise an awareness across the district and expanding it to the middle schools as well. And I know that's another thing that these students, many of them are sophomores and juniors, and some of them are seniors. And the work that they're doing, we want to have kind of continue on as more and more kids enter our district and exit as better human beings. So with that, you know, as my job in Ed Services, when we're looking at the instruction, our curriculum has to be aligned with the vision and goals of the district, but also the academic content standards, the state curriculum, the graduation requirements, and also like related to the legal sort of requirements in the district improvement plan. So we always are looking at our curriculum, and we have vehicles for that. Running it by students, our parent curriculum advisory committee, our coordinating council, meeting with department chairs. And every time we do an adoption of new materials, we have department chairs, content expert leaders that are looking at instructional material and making sure that it's relevant. It covers a diverse array of needs. And not saying that, like as Mr. Miller said, not saying that we're perfect, but we're always learning, we're always being educated, and we look forward to working together with our students, with our community, and with our staff to provide the best education possible.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Mark. You know what, you've done a lot of work. I know it's hard for everyone to see because you're so busy, but there's a lot going on in the district that I know is really deep and has long-lasting effects. So thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Can I ask a few questions about, on the, when we were talking about the conference that is offered, you said it's open to everyone. If someone wanted to attend it, like.
I didn't say it's open to everyone.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because, I mean, there are limitations about how many staff we can release for any given training. We try to get a mixed group and we try to make it as available as we can.
Just because as a facilitator of the community, I get a lot of emails. So if someone was to reach out to me, express an interest, how would they best go about expressing that interest? Who should they contact?
A staff member?
If a staff member or a member of the community, I just as an example.
So if it's a staff member and it's at a site, they should get in touch with their site leadership.
Okay.
And say that they would like to attend. As Dr. Haley said, you know, sometimes it is a logistical thing to see. Typically, they will have a team go that represents teachers, counselors, student support specialists, administrators, so they can kind of work with the team. But if there's, you know, other folks that want to go and it works out, then that's something they can accommodate.
Okay.
And it's recorded as well, right?
It is.
This year, again, it's going to be very unique.
I mean, last year, I will tell you, it was very powerful because a lot of the workshops were workshops where you could work with your team in these environments. This year being a virtual, I just don't know what it's going to look like. It's kind of unique.
And I don't know about community members. That's.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
put on by the county for schools.
Okay. And then the other thing, I was taking notes when you were talking about, you know, I was listening to what the kids want to accomplish and I was listening to what we have accomplished. And then recognizing that we are in a unique situation where we probably can't do the really impactful work. You know, like you said, like this work would be best done one-on-one. But I was thinking, someone mentioned Poway. I know that they had a resolution that they put together basically outlining what their expectations were in terms of diversity and their next steps. Is that something that we can make actionable? Like we could work with the students and staff and put together a resolution and say, this is, you know, San Diego is taking this stance on these issues and this is what we hope to accomplish. Is that something that we can, just so that we kind of, in this unusual world, we actually can make something work in the virtual, knowing that we have very little wins, but this would be a win for us.
So we work very closely with Poway and I don't have any problem whatsoever reaching out to their staff. I think before we model what we do off of a different district, we should understand the context of what that would look like in our district and our schools.
I was I just know that they passed a resolution. I'm not necessarily saying that we should use theirs word for word or even model it, but just the idea that they put one out, just to acknowledge that they took that stance and to say that we're willing to take that stance as well.
I would want to look very carefully, and it's been a few months. I don't have a problem preparing that for the board if that's something the board would want. I would want to make sure that how that overlaps with what we have in place. I will tell you that, we did put together the equity policy. We felt that was important. But if a further resolution is needed, again, that's something that we can look at. But I would want to understand the context in which it was done and how it's operative, how we've seen a lot of resolutions that are not necessarily operative. So
and I agree. I would
definitely make a commitment to looking at it, reviewing it, and seeing what actionable steps are. And I think we also need to be open to our school community and the diversity of voices in our school community as well.
You're right.
I just want to add, in case not everyone knows, on the board level, several of us, or two of us, attended a diversity workshop at the California School Boards Association when we were last able to attend. And then when we do develop policies, they're generally based off of the state recommendations from the California School Board Association. So it's not, something that we're crafting and coming up with necessarily. It's a uniform policy that's updated every year.
And it's statewide.
That is statewide, yeah.
Strive for.
Not that it's perfect, but I just want people to know where the policy comes from.
Thank you. Okay. Consideration of adoption of resolution declaring February 2021 National Career Technical Education Month. No request for public comment on this item. Do I have a motion, resolution declaring February 2021 National Career Technical Education CTE Month as presented?
Excitedly, I move to approve.
Mossy Mo?
Mossy.
I excitedly second.
Young, any further questions or comments?
I have a quick comment, and I know it's getting late. I won't be too long, but I just wanted you guys to know, I looked this up. Students with greater exposure to CTE courses, career and technical education courses, are 21% more likely to graduate than their peers without it. They're more likely to enroll in college, and they're more likely to have higher wages. And really at its core, the mission of career and technical education is to prepare students for high skill, high demand careers. And I think that fits very well with our district. And I also am really pleased with the work that we've done and continuing to do. And I know we've received a lot of grant money as well. And I thank Manuel Zapata for all of his effort with his team, of course.
We have an amazing team of career technical educators across our district.
Yep.
They do amazing work. It's not what you would think of as vocational education. These are really diverse courses, cutting edge. And this is I fully support the board unanimously passing this resolution.
All right, roll call, Mrs. Schultz.
Thank you. Devin Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Cassie Miller,
Yes.
Xander Samarasinge,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Sarah Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Allman,
Yes.
Miss Mossy,
Yes.
Miss Young,
Yes.
Miss Muir.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Consideration of acceptance of gifts and donations. There were no requests for public comment on this item. Do we have a motion to accept gifts and donations as a district as presented? Motion?
So moved, Mossy.
Second?
Allman.
Almond. Comment? No. Joe, roll call, please.
Devin Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Cassie Miller,
Yes.
Xander Samarasinge,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Sarah Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Allman,
Yes.
Miss Mossy,
Yes.
Miss Young,
Yes.
Miss Muir.
Yes. Information items. Mrs. Douglas, please.
Two real quick things. As you know, the governor released his proposed budget last week, and you may have heard some information in relation to money that's coming to school districts. So they provided a 3.8% or so COLA that's on top of the LCFF formula, or increases the LCFF formula by that amount. In addition to some one-time dollars and things of that nature. The elimination of almost all cash deferrals, which if you recall, what they were doing was, because there wasn't enough money, they were not sending money that schools otherwise would have been receiving. They were holding it. and we're going to pay it at a later time. So they've almost eliminated all of those. What you're hearing has very little impact on us because we are a basic aid school district. That 3.8% COLA does not apply to anything that we're getting. What we will benefit from is the one-time dollars that may be coming. You've heard some of the conversations around the other thing that the budget does is buy down some of the PERS and STIRS rates. But those numbers were numbers that they already provided to us that we already had included in our multi-year projections. So that's not new. So there is no impact from what you're hearing with the state budget to our local budget. What really matters to us as a basic aid district is our property taxes. And so we have a meeting next week on Monday, the county assessor's office, and they'll give us some.
I don't think it's going to be on.
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday, and they'll give us an update on what they think the projections are coming in at, and that will be what impacts us the most. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that what you're hearing at the state level has very little impact on basic aid school districts.
So we're not going to be getting that. I'd heard $2 million. We won't be getting that from the state.
So that we would be getting.
Okay.
And that's one-time dollars. So the one-time dollars we would be getting, even though we're based.
Important to recognize right now, it's just a proposal and it's only January. There'll be a May revision.
Okay.
That will come out and then a final budget in June.
So
one of the concerns about the budget that could have an impact is the state putting inside of getting technical Prop 98 dollars for health and safety, because that's really for curriculum and operating schools.
Okay. Keep us abreast.
And then the other piece I wanted to mention is, as you guys all know, our ICOC, Independent Citizens Oversight Committee, that's the body that watches and we participate with our facilities group. So ultimately, they oversee how we're spending our dollars on our facilities projects. We have 3 people that are leaving. We only are required to have 7. So we would be looking at recruiting at least 1. The 1 seat that we need to fill is a parent of a student that's enrolled in the district. So we'll be going forward with putting out applications similar to what we did last time for those that were here 2 years ago, because it's a 2-year term. And then we'll be doing basically what we did last time, and we'll provide a timeline. But basically what we did last time was we solicited applications for the spots that we needed to fill. And according to the bylaws, there are certain seats we need to fill. But that parent of an enrolled student is the one. And then when the applications come back, the last time we did this, we had 2 board members who screened the applications. And then John Adel and myself conducted the interviews and then made recommendation to the board. So we would be looking at doing something similar unless the board wants us to do something otherwise.
Okay, subcommittee. All right, thank you, Tina.
Real quick, may I?
Sure.
Tina, what, on the money, are COVID funds, are we going to get a couple $1 million of COVID mitigation through recent legislation?
Projected right now, it's about 2.4 million. That's the early projection that we're getting from the state.
And do you know when we will actually get that?
No, we don't even know what the actual amount is yet.
Okay.
Or if it will happen.
Or even if it will happen? Okay.
Cindy?
Yes, just very briefly, I just want to do a shout out to my entire human resources team that's worked so hard to support over the last 2 months and also over the holidays to get the staffing in line to provide our schools support to expand our cohorts and support to our schools.
And, you know, Cindy, as you're thanking them, the work they're doing is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
It is.
We get calls at any and all times.
Saturdays, Sundays, holidays. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank them for us.
Ryan?
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
just
will.
a couple quick things. Want to thank you again, Ms. Mossy, for acknowledging Manuel Zapata for their CTE and his leadership in that. And also all of the teachers and the students that take those classes to prepare them not only for a future employment, but also many of them are articulated with MiraCosta and they get college credit for that as well. Secondly, I want to thank the Student Summit, in creation of the Student Summit, our student board reps, Dr. Haley, Deputy Superintendent Miller, and myself got the opportunity to meet with them to kind of go over and preview an agenda in preparation for our summit, which had over, I think, close to 55 to 60 students involved.
Wow.
It was a phenomenal showing. This on the heels of getting ready for finals weeks. Our student board reps are looking forward and preparing for those finals this next week. So I want to wish all of the students in our district good luck on their final exams. And I want to thank all the teachers for all the hard work they did in the digital distance learning environment to prepare the students for the ending of this first semester.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Mark?
Thank you, Mo. So with CIF, so we've received some questions about CIF. Yesterday, we received some additional CIF guidance. It took me several times to read it to understand but I think I landed on it. It came out regarding season 1 and season 2 sports for winter and spring. It made clear that no athletic competitions can begin until the point the current stay-at-home order is lifted for the entire state of for the entire Southern California region. The only sports at this point in time that have a path forward with a specific start date are cross country and swimming and diving, with a start date of February 1st. The rest of the sports are practice only. Yeah. So when I say start date, that means a start date for practice. No competitions until that stay-at-home order is lifted. All other sports will be following a tiered model as they lined out in December. And the start dates will be identified once the sports are in their specific tiers. Now it gets complicated because if you're in a specific tier, you can actually start practicing at the tier above. But again, no competitions until that stay-at-home order is lifted. It did make it clear that we can continue with the conditioning. And that, as you heard from our student board members tonight, we have had additional sports that have started up, so we will continue with that conditioning. Real quick, shifting gears, I want to personally thank our counselors, our student specialists, and our school psychologists who continue to meet with students in person to support their unique needs. So thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
So earlier, a short while ago, Trustee Mossy mentioned our policies. We do follow the California School Boards Association policy manual. There are a number that we do very carefully look at to see what the local context is for customizing them. On the other hand, many of them we have to follow pretty closely because they're really just related to what the law says. We undertook a very large project, as some of you were on the board for, to bring all of them up to date. And they follow a numbering system. So the 000 series, 1000, 2000. And then every month we designate a spot on the calendar to review them. So this month we would normally review the 0 series and the 1000 series, which I did. There were no changes needed in the 000 series. However, there are some in the 1000s, but they're very technical and involve the uniform complaint procedure and some other things. So it may take us some time. So we did the review. We don't have any for you this month to approve, but you can expect to see some from the 1000 series. With that, I will turn it over to the board president. We provided a list of different district committees and superintendent committees that we have and that we enjoy having board member representation on.
Okay, you know that for Katrina and Mike is that we have our committees that we representation from this board to those committees. Is I put on this side who's been on that previously is obviously Melissa and I've been on here for a while, so we've cycled through almost all the committees. I'm not exactly sure if you've had a chance to look and to think about what you'd like to have. I could write down. If not, I'm just going to start calling them out and then we'll assign all the committees. Okay, so on the Parent Curriculum Advisory Committee is we've got 2 on there now. Katrina?
I'm sorry.
The Parent Curriculum Advisory Committee.
Are you, I was looking at the list. It starts with career technical education.
Right. I started at the, because that's one that we've already been on. So I'm kind of going with the ones that Melissa and I've already been on. But if we can start at the top, if you'd like. The career technical education. Melissa, do you want to go on that again or you want to?
I would love to but I would defer. I mean, I would love to, but.
Want to stay?
You can always accommodate 2. And as you see, with some, we have a 3rd listed and that's almost like an alternate. Like we can only have 2 at a time. So.
We can even do 1 on all these. And if you want to rotate on later on at some point, we can do that too.
And I put myself down as an alternate if
okay.
Mossy isn't able to.
Okay. The City of Carlsbad, City and Schools. I'm on there now, but Katrina, you're in Carlsbad. What do you think?
I would like to join.
Okay. Encinitas, 6 times a year.
I'm also Encinitas, that's
Okay.
the area, so I can
do that too.
I don't know if it's 1 or 2, there's 2 listed, but it says 1 board member.
I think we can rotate in, and if, you know what else, let me know if you get sick and you want to have somebody else cover it. Just, or I'll just shoot it off to Joe and she'll send an email to someone. Okay, Salada Beach. Mike, you're down there?
That's fine.
Okay. Facilities? Mike,
I can do that.
okay. The LCAP? I can do that.
You know, we also, I mean,
Oh, I know Kristen is.
Kristen, you know, hope her situation improves and she'll be able, so, you know,
You know what? I'll leave her on that. Okay. I thought you said Legislation Action Network. You thought that you weren't going to be having that this year.
due to the current situation, it did not happen. We can always bring that back if it's ready to restart.
Okay, you know what? If it comes back up, then I'll bring it back. I'll put it out.
Okay.
Nixie, Melissa, you're on that now?
What about the Legislative Action Network?
That's one that, it's not operating right now because.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about the LCAP. Sorry.
What is, I'll send an email out or have Joe, and if it comes back up, then we'll take it.
I'd be interested if it comes back.
Okay.
Nixie.
Nixie, Melissa?
I can do it again, or if you want to give that one to Kristen if she wants it, or you can ask her if she wants it, or.
Anyone else for Nixie?
You know, it's a pretty informative day. I know, Trustee Alman, you were interested in special ed. It might be, I mean, right, it's informative, so.
I'll take it.
You'll take it? Okay. Parent Curriculum Advisory Committee. We were on that. Katrina, Mike?
Parent side of committee, is that what you said?
Parent Curriculum Advisory Committee.
I'll sit on that.
I can do that too.
Okay, is that, so that's best for both? If you like.
You can switch off too.
Yeah.
I'll be an alternate unless.
You could, she could go, you could just be an alternate, Mike.
Whatever you think.
That,
Probably have too many volunteers, right?
well, you know what is, with the COVID, I just don't know, sometimes it may not happen, so that's why. Okay, parent site rep, we're doing a rotating on that. Special Education Strategic Plan Advisory, how about if we put you on that, Mike? Or Katrina, how about that? Because I will flip you from the Nixie to the Special Education Strategic Plan Advisory.
Okay.
And then you're on one and the Mike's on the other. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Will you email all those to us?
So
We'll make sure we provide it.
Okay, thank you.
And then I've got it written down. I'll give it to Joe. Okay. Is there any future agenda items? No. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.